Pokémon, the story of Yu. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 76, The Secret of Super Evolution. Little Yi, does this Mewtwo have some problems with its brain? Giratina's voice sounded in Yu's heart. Yu nodded, then switched modes, entered the mind mode, and let Giratina sense it. There are some small problems, because it has been used as a tool since its birth, and has never received normal learning. It is controlled, or even enslaved. According to normal development, it is a big devil who destroys the world. But when it was created, it happened to grow up, and communicate with a human little girl who was also cloned. Then it learned a lot of bright things, and began to think about the value and meaning of its existence. It is not at all, so it is a little split. So, this little guy is also very pitiful. Giratina said. It is very pitiful. Yu said. Mewtwo is lucky. It is the only successful experiment, not the only experiment. There have been many experiments with it, and now it is the only one alive. But it is also unfortunate, because Mewtwo has consciousness before it is fully born, and communicates with those experiments. These experiments tell Mewtwo what they know, so that Mewtwo has a basic outlook on life. But those three views were not fully established before they were collapsed by Team Rocket. So it was tragic. So, Xiaoyi, I'll give you a task, to subdue it. Giratina said. Ah. Yu looked at Giratina with surprise. You jumped the topic a little too fast. It's pitiful, so you want me to subdue it? Do you think it won't be pitiful if I subdue it? Although I think it's right to say that it's quite happy to be my Pokémon, but the logic is a little bit wrong. That's right, to subdue it, isn't it said that there are 3 messengers? I have one more, so let it come. Giratina said. Yu stared straight at Giratina. If he wasn't afraid of being beaten, he really wanted to tell Giratina that it's still daytime. Don't dream, okay? You are only a little stronger than Mewtwo. According to the fantasy level, one is at the peak and the other is at the late stage. The gap is not that big. Why should it be your younger brother? Mewtwo's temperament is not the character to be someone's younger brother at all. In other words, your logic is not that you are not pitiful if you are conquered by me, but that you are not pitiful if you become your little brother. Where do you get such a thick skin? Your logic might as well be that you are happy to be a Pokémon for me and eat a free meal. What's your expression? Do you have any ideas? Giratina said. No, I just have a question. According to my information, Mewtwo can Mega Evolve, and once it Mega Evolves, Mewtwo's strength will rise to a high level, and you may not be able to beat it at that time. Yu said. This is a very serious question. If you can't beat it, what kind of big brother are you? And Mewtwo is one of the only 2 Pokémon among the first level beasts that can Mega Evolve, and it also has 2 forms. Giratina is likely to be unable to beat Mewtwo after Mega Evolution. Mega Evolution? What? We still have evolution? Giratina looked at Yu strangely. Don't you know Mega Evolution? Yu looked at Giratina strangely. I know. Why would I ask you? What is Mega Evolution? Giratina looked at you with an expression that said, are you stupid? A short-term evolutionary form, currently, only appears in the Kalos region. It is the main research of Dr. Blatano in the Kalos region. Pokémon carry exclusive Mega Evolution stones, and trainers carry evolution keys. When the bond between them is sufficient, Pokémon can evolve briefly and have powerful power. Yu explained simply. What is the principle? Giratina asked. It is not certain yet. There are many theories. Some say that the evolution key and Mega Evolution stone stimulate the genetic changes in Pokémon and release their original strength. Some say that Pokémon simply use the power of the evolution key. Yu said. In the Kalos region, is it the evolution of the origin? Giratina thought. It usually reverses the world and does not care about the outside world. It occasionally pays attention to the Sinnoh region. Because of Yu, it pays more attention to Kanto. It is still not interested in other regions and does not know about Mega Evolution. Evolution of the origin? What is the origin? The power of Arceus? Yu looked at Giratina with curiosity. Giratina looked at Yu, a little hesitant, and finally said, forget it, you are not an outsider, I will tell you. First of all, you know who created this world? Yes, Arceus. Yu said. Yes, Arceus. It is the first creature in this world, the crystallization of the 18 origins of this world, and then it differentiated these 18 origins into 18 stone tablets, and then created Dialga and Palkia, and at the same time created them, and accidentally created me. The four of us are the first monsters. Giratina said. Then what does this have to do with super evolution? Yu asked curiously. Because the reason why we monsters are stronger than most monsters is that we are loved by the origin of heaven and earth, and we are born with the talent to control nature. For example, Dialga can travel through time, Lugia can freely control the weather, and the Phoenix King can be resurrected. These are all innate instincts, and have nothing to do with strength. Therefore, you humans call them gods. If it is such an extraordinary change, it may be the temporary condensation of the origin. Giratina said. Hasn't the origin become a stone slab? Yu asked curiously. The core is, but there is always a small part that is still outside. Otherwise how can the world run? And the Kalos region you mentioned is also a bit special. It is the place where Arceus and Necrozma fought. Giratina said. Fighting with Necrozma? Yu's eyes lit up. Big news. A big park between the gods of creation of two worlds. Giratina. Actually I have a question that I haven't had time to ask you. That is, I saw you and the ultra beasts of the Alala region appear together in the ruins in SYNOPSIS. Why is that? You should not be from the same world. He has always been curious about this question, but he just didn't have the chance. Now that he has the chance, he will ask it all at once. This happened in ancient times. At that time, the world was not ruled by you humans. At that time, you humans were very weak. And most of the monsters are much stronger than the ones you see now, just like the Dragonite next to it. In ancient times, the smallest Dragonite was at least 5 times its size. Giratina glanced at the Dragonite on the side. Dragonite, who was eating the food given by Yu, had a guilty expression on his face. What's wrong? Why are you looking at me suddenly? Are you going to let me out? What happened? Why am I here? When I woke up, wasn't I swimming in the sea? Yu nodded. The Pokémon of ancient times were all ridiculously strong. In the original series, in one episode, the ancient Jigglypuff, ancient Alakazam, and ancient Jenga appeared briefly. Each of them was ground level. When they started to fight, they destroyed the world and almost opened up another dimension. According to the literature, the local civilization was destroyed by them. Moreover, Groudon and Kyogre are also classified as ancient Pokémon. But Arceus will appear again, so there's nothing to worry about. Until one day, we connect with another world. We think that world is good, so we want to fight it. Giratina said. Conquer that world? Yu's eyes widened. Aren't the Ultra Beasts invading this world? How did it become that you went to fight the Ultra Beasts? Of course, seeing a good place, of course they want to fight. And they are more active than us. They want to invade us, and even instigated some super ancient Pokémon who don't obey Arceus' discipline. And finally it turned into a battle between Arceus and Necrozma to decide the winner. Giratina said. What was the final result? Did Arceus win? Yu asked. It was a tie. Arceus was slightly stronger, but not so much. If a human hadn't suddenly appeared in the end, they would have died together. Giratina said. Human? Which human is so strong? Yu looked surprised. I don't know. But that battle was very tragic. Arceus and Necrozma almost died. Their essence was scattered, and their strength was greatly damaged. Necrozma was almost killed by a meteorite later. When Giratina said this, he was full of ridicule. Yu couldn't help but look up at Giratina again. If Arceus hadn't been nearly killed by the meteorite, Giratina would have said that it would be fine. But Arceus was also nearly killed by the meteorite. You said this. If Arceus wakes up, will I die? But Arceus' essence is dispersing, causing the magnetic field there to be different from other places. Over time, the Mega Evolution Stone you mentioned may be born. Giratina said to himself. Magnetic field? Yu stopped thinking and showed a thoughtful expression. If that's the case, it makes sense. The Z pure crystal unique to the Alala region is mysterious, but in fact it is a special, or that is close to the ultimate world, and is often affected by the ultimate magnetic field. Chapter 77 2 missions. Hey, that's not right. If that's the case, what's the deal with Bond evolution? And Rayquaza can mega evolve without an evolution stone. Yu suddenly became confused. Satoshi and Greninja don't need evolution stones. And Rayquaza can mega evolve by itself. You said Rayquaza can mega evolve. Giratina looked at Yu and said, of course. Yu said, then why can't I? Giratina said. Yu spread his hands. How should I know? Why? Rayquaza can do it, but I can't. You study mega evolution. I wanted to. Giratina jumped up in dissatisfaction when he heard that Rayquaza can mega evolve. Why? You can't have this thing just because you want it. I study, boss. My profession is a student, not a researcher. That's it. This task is handed over to you. Work hard. Then we'll talk about this Mewtwo. Giratina looked at Yu and said, wait, what's it? I'm not good. I'm not a professional mega evolution. I can't do it. Yu said with a face full of resistance. Don't you humans have powerful creative abilities? You can do it. Giratina said. I can't do it. You also said that I don't have terrifying creative abilities. There are big differences between Pokémon and humans. I can't do it. Yu said. Giratina turned his head, and I didn't listen. I really can't do it. I sleep in class every day. When I go home, I either copy my homework directly or have Haunter write it for me. I failed in math, physics, and chemistry. Giratina raised his chin, but I still didn't listen. Believe me, I really didn't lie to you. I never lie. When I say I can't do it, I really can't do it. I don't even have a super evolved Pokémon, let alone research. Yu did an unprecedented self-analysis and deep self-examination in his life. But no matter how sincere Yu's analysis was, Giratina's reaction was the same. I don't listen. I don't listen. I don't listen. Yu looked at Giratina's reaction and almost spit out a mouthful of blood. Why don't you listen? You are the god of the reversed world, the most terrifying and evil existence in the legend of Pokémon. Because he was too evil and destructive, he was exiled to the reverse world. Why are you so proud? The character exploded. Yu collapsed. But what else can you do when facing such a fist bigger than yours? In the end, thousands of words turned into only one sentence. I'll try my best. Good job, Xiaoye. I knew you wouldn't let me down. Giratina finally heard Yu's words at this time. Yu rubbed his forehead in pain. If he couldn't beat him, he really wanted to beat him. But now that things have come to this, he can only let his brain work. Go back and make up for the knowledge of super evolution. Find a chance to see if he can learn from Dr. Blatano. Then find examples to study. Super evolution. There are only 3 ways. The first one, the most conventional, evolution keystone plus super evolution stone. This is the simplest, and if you find Giratina's exclusive super evolution stone, then you can definitely evolve. But it is also the most impossible. If you can find it, you would have found it long ago. The second one, Zyros' exclusive, Bond evolution. Zyros' rare protagonist Halo. It's a pity that he didn't renew it at the last minute. It seems that only Greninja can do this. There was one in the Kalos Ninja village hundreds of years ago. We can investigate it. But the reference value may not be too high. The third type is the evolution that Yu does not know the principle of. In the movie, Latios, and Mewtwo mega evolved while fighting. It is also the most likely to be suitable for Giratina, but there are almost no examples. Thinking of this, Yu suddenly looked at Mewtwo on the side. There is no example, or make one up. Mewtwo's mega evolution requires a mega evolution stone. But it is an artificial Pokémon, and its mega evolution stone cannot exist in nature. So, is it possible that it made its own mega evolution stone? This is not impossible. In the Kalos movie, Diance's mega evolution stone was made by herself. Thinking of this, Yu looked at Mewtwo. If that's the case, Mewtwo is of great value. After all, in addition to it, another first level beast that can mega evolve, Rayquaza, is something Yu cannot detect at all. Shining Rayquaza can Mega Evolve, but it can fight against Dialga, Palkia, and Giratina, the 3 gods of SYNOPSIS, without any pressure. Leave all the Mewtwo matters to me, okay? Yu said in his heart. No problem. Giratina agreed in a nanosecond. Originally, it was your job. Of course, I'll handle it for you. Okay. Yu took a deep breath, walked towards Mewtwo and said, are you confused now? Mewtwo lowered his head and didn't say anything. Confused, of course, but it didn't want to show weakness in front of Yu. Do you want to know why you are confused? Yu continued. Mewtwo finally looked up. It wanted to know. Because you haven't read a book. Yu looked at Mewtwo and said, a Pokémon who has never even been to school. Why do you think about where do I come from? Where am I going? What is the value of my life? These philosophical questions that philosophers think about. Reading? Mewtwo looked at Yu. What is a book? Those genetic replications? That's right, reading. The meaning of life. This kind of philosophical question is only suitable for 2 kinds of people to think about. One is a wise man who has experienced all kinds of life, experienced spring breeze and autumn rain, and has rich life experience, and the other is a wise man who is proficient in philosophy and has rich knowledge. In addition, thinking about these things all day is idle. And you have almost no life experience, and you have never read a book. How can you think about it? Yu said. Then what should I do? Meng looked at Yu and said, stay with me for 10 years. I will teach you to read, and then take you around the world, to see what the world looks like, so that you know that in addition to the dirty side of the world you see, there is also truth, goodness, and beauty. At the same time, in addition to your troubles, there are people who have greater troubles. Yu said. You want to conquer me, saying these high-sounding words, hypocritical and dirty human beings. Meng said disdainfully. It's not about taming you. I won't let you enter the Pokeball. I just want you to follow me. We can understand each other and cooperate. I will understand what I want to know, and you will solve your doubts. After 10 years, if you are still confused, I will set you free. Otherwise, you will not have the chance to solve your doubts, and you will die here today. Yu looked at Mewtwo and said, his voice had no obvious tone change, as if he was stating a simple fact. Mewtwo looked up at Yu, and Yu looked at him calmly. After a long time, Mewtwo retracted his gaze and said, if you can't solve my doubts within 10 years, even if it is here, I will definitely kill you. Wait and see. Chapter 78, Conquering Dragonite. Next, it's you, Dragonite. Yu turned and looked at Dragonite on the side. These days, I have been paying attention to the battle between Giratina and Mewtwo, but I haven't had time to subdue this Dragonite. Dragonite, who was hiding in a corner of the reversed world, heard Yu's voice, looked flustered, looked up timidly, and then tried to shrink his neck, to reduce his presence as much as possible. Why are you looking for me all of a sudden? Do you think I don't exist? It woke up a few days ago. It just doesn't know what happened at all. It has no memory of the time when it was hypnotized. But before it figured out what happened, it saw the battle between Giratina and Mewtwo. The terrifying power scared Dragonite so much that his heart almost jumped out. Dragonite, who always thought he was very powerful, began to doubt his life as a dragon. For the first time, I felt that I was weak, pitiful, and helpless. He is just a little dragon in his teens. What are you doing? Let's talk about it. Are you willing to be my partner? Yu said. Be your partner? Dragonite frowned, and of course he didn't want to. Who wants you to subdue him when he can be free? But thinking about the conversation between Yu and Mewtwo just now, if you don't agree, you will die here today. Looking at Giratina, Dragonite nodded fiercely. I do. Big brother, don't kill me. Okay, please take care of me in the future. Yu took out the Pokeball and dunked it on Dragonite's head. A red light flashed, and it was perfectly subdued. After that, let's go with Mewtwo. In the next 10 years, don't use your superpowers casually to hurt others. Yu looked at Mewtwo and said. Mewtwo nodded, which was considered an agreement. Giratina, let's go. Yu said. Let's go. After we go out, try to complete the 2 things I told you to do. Giratina said. Mewtwo is weak now, so can you take us to the new island in the reverse world, and then we can leave. Yu said. To understand the secret of Mewtwo's super evolution, we must first understand Mewtwo well enough. That means we need to understand the origin of Mewtwo, and there is Mewtwo's original data on the new island. There are also ridiculously powerful clone machines and dark balls that can even hold Pokémon balls. Okay, get on. Giratina said. Okay. Yu took the initiative to jump on Giratina's back. Lilia, Xiaoxu, get on. Yu said. Get on, I can do it too. Xiaoxu was excited. Riding a legendary Pokémon. At this moment, Xiaoxu felt that her life was worth it. Holding Yu's hand, she sat on Giratina. Lilia was instinctively a little scared, but she had to get on at this time. She hugged Xiaoxu tightly, and her whole body went into a state of stiffness. Hold on tight, I'm going to leave. Giratina said, and began to fly quickly. Yu held Giratina tightly, and Giratina was slightly dissatisfied and said, be gentle, don't use so much force. Oh. Yu nodded his head frantically. By the way, how is the filming of the movie going? Giratina said. It has been arranged. If you have any requirements, tell me. Yu said. He didn't need to tell him about this. The director of the last Raichu movie took the initiative to find him. It is worth mentioning that the Raichu movie had a good story development, so the director wanted to show it in the cinema, and Yu agreed. In the end, it was proved that this kind of plot of 30 years in the East and 30 years in the West was very popular, and it sold well at the box office, and became the annual box office #1. Now that the funds are available, the actors can be directly animated, and the general script has been finalized. The only trouble is that in a movie, if you want to create a heroic protagonist, there must be a villain. And for the sake of logic, and for Giratina's happiness, there are only a few who can be Giratina's opponents. But making them villains is to discredit them. Although Yu and these great gods can basically not see, and they don't even watch movies, so theoretically, it doesn't matter if they are blackened. But this is just theory. What if Yu meets somewhere at some time? And what if they watch the movie? Then a group of big guys waved their fists, held knives, surrounded him and said, little brother, you are very good. Yu shuddered when he thought of that scene. I don't have many requirements. The key is to be handsome. Then you have to focus on depicting how powerful I am, and how I can save the world. Defeat Dialga and Palkia. Then, make me and Arceus jump over the wall as a celebration, and then Rayquaza and Ho-Oh will dance, Lugia will shout on the side, and Groudon and Kyogre will stand guard for me. Listening to Giratina's constant requests, Yu was sweating profusely. I'm so stupid. What questions did I ask? It's hard to say whether Giratina will be happy if it's filmed like this, but he will definitely be beaten to death. Finally, I came out of the reverse world. The sky outside was still clear and blue with white clouds, but Yu's spiritual world was full of storms, lightning and thunder. It's hard to be a human being, and it's even harder to be Giratina's messenger. This is Mewtwo's home. After getting off Giratina, Lily also regained her vitality and looked around curiously. Although it was not as good as the Ether Foundation island of her mother, it was not small. Is this a castle that a Pokémon can build? That's right, the powerful power of Pokémon. Yu said. Master, you're back. A lady dressed as a housekeeper came over with empty eyes. Miss Joy. Xiaozu looked at the housekeeper in surprise. The image on the disc was just not clear. Now looking closely, it was clearly Miss Joy from the Pokémon Center. She was also controlled by Yu. Yu looked at Mewtwo. Of course, she helped me understand the body of Pokémon well enough. If it weren't for her, my research would not have progressed to this point. Even she might not remember it. Now, it's useless to stay here. Mewtwo stretched out 3 fingers, superpowers surged, and joy disappeared instantly. Yu walked in this isolated island manor, and found that this manor was actually wind powered and hydroelectric, using the wind above the house and the water flow below to generate electricity. It was scientific and long lasting. He looked at Mewtwo in surprise. Did you invent all these? Yes. Mewtwo nodded. Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. He felt that what he said before was a bit exaggerated. He, who had received advanced education and studied for 20 years in his past and present lives, could not do these things, but Mewtwo could do it by self-study. It's not that this guy has never been educated, but he only reads science books and thought about liberal arts ideas, which are not relevant enough. Walking to the side, he saw a huge petri dish and a cloning machine. Yu conducted control research and learned by the way, then looked at Mewtwo and said, "Did you study this too?" "No, those dirty humans did it, but I made this again. The previous one blew up for me," Mewtwo said. Yu looked at Mewtwo with a horrified face. "I really didn't see it. A top student dream. I take back what I said before." Mewtwo ignored Yu and took the initiative to enter a petri dish to recover his body. It was seriously injured in the battle with Giratina. If it doesn't recover, something will happen. Yu turned around and began to think about how to take these things away. It's impossible to carry such a large thing with you. Large transportation tools such as airplanes and ships must be deployed. But it would make too much noise, attract attention, and be easily robbed. Yu listened to the sound of water outside, and suddenly an idea came to him. He used his authority to reverse the world, to form a huge black hole under the new island. Then the whole new island sank into the reverse world. Ensure the safety of these things. After that, he waited for a day, and Mewtwo came out of the petri dish, and his strength was restored to 50% or 60%. Yu said, "Let's go. I'll locate you, and I'll take you to read and understand life. After all these messed up things, it's better to go home first." And Mewtwo is too eye-catching. The battle with Giratina should have been seen by the whole Kanto. If it's just by my side, it will definitely attract attention. And Team Rocket will not be quiet. Mewtwo nodded, looked at the location on Yuyu's phone, and teleported a few times to enter the Kyojin family's old house. As soon as he entered, the originally quiet old house suddenly rioted. Jenga, Night Dark Demon, Dream Demon, a group of ghost type Pokémon suddenly appeared, and each of them had very strong ghost type energy. Mewtwo narrowed his eyes, and superpowers surged in his body. He had just fought with Giratina, and his strength was seriously damaged. It was a bit tiring to fight these guys. Xiaoxu and Lily also felt a little unnatural, and subconsciously leaned towards Yu. "It's me, Grandpa Jenga. Don't panic." Yu looked at the group of Pokémon with a friendly face. Seeing Yu, a group of ghost Pokémon were relieved, showing a kind smile, floating above Yu's head for a few times, and then they dispersed after feeling that Mewtwo was not easy to mess with. "Yu, what were those Pokémon just now?" Lily asked timidly. Most girls are afraid of ghosts, and she is a special girl who is afraid of Pokémon. In general, she is particularly afraid of ghost Pokémon. They are all Pokémon of some of our ancestors, Yu said, which can also be called the foundation of the Kyojin family. Ghost Pokémon have a very long lifespan. No matter how well the trainer raises them, they will send the trainer away. These ghost Pokémon will not all stay. Many will return to the forest after the trainer dies, but there will still be one or two left to take care of the descendants. After generations of accumulation, it has reached its current scale. When he was a child, Yu often played with them to experience the pleasure of heaven. He walked inside and communicated with the housekeeper, wanting him to notify his father, mother, aunt, and great-aunt to come back, or to have a video conference to communicate. As soon as he went out, he saw them all staring at him. Chapter 79, Remarks on the Release. As the title says, it is now available. First of all, I would like to thank the editor for his comments and his care and recommendation. To be honest, it is a little bit sudden and awkward to put it on the shelves at this time. We have just passed the small peak of Mewtwo and will enter a slow period next, which will affect the first order. We will strive for the Quartz conference later and try to pull it back. The performance of this book is worse than that of Zahu's first book. Zahu's best performance is 13 on the new book list. When it was put on the shelves, it was collected more than 10,000 times and was listed as a must-read on the homepage of Reading. The best performance of Yu's new book list is 36, with 8,000 collections. This shows that Sengdeo's grasp is a bit poor, and he did not go deep into the psychology of the big guys. Or maybe there are some big problems with the setting of Sengdeo when writing this book. Because Zahu has already written about the battles in Johto, the Battle Frontier, and SYNOPSIS, in order to avoid repetition and appearing the same, he plans to lay the groundwork in the early school and focus on describing the Hoenn and Kalos regions. but this adds a lot of unfamiliarity. After all, the main Pokémon fanfiction is based on the early Kanto Johto. Zahu's identity as a real newcomer has taken a lot of advantage. But fortunately, with the support of everyone, the results are not bad. I have written here, and I have to keep going. It will be on the shelves at 12 noon tomorrow, and 5 chapters will be updated. If there are many subscriptions, there will be more updates. If there are no accidents in daily life, it will be 3 updates. Finally, I really beg for subscriptions. Even if you want to leave, please give me a first order before leaving. It's only 1 or 2 cents, which is really not expensive. Chapter 80, The Origin of Team Rocket. What's the matter? Why are you all here? You said. How dare you say that? Giratina is fighting against an unknown Pokémon, and you are its messenger. Your mother is worried about you, and your aunt wants to find you to find out what happened. She called you, but couldn't get through. She called for several days in a row, and your mother was worried about you to death. Now you come back, and there is no call. Yu's father was angry, pointing at Yu and scolding him, but before he finished scolding, he saw Mewtwo behind Yu and immediately became terrified. Why is it here? Mewtwo glanced at Yu's father coldly, as if he was hesitating whether to take action. We agreed. You are not allowed to take action casually. Yu looked at Mewtwo the first time. Mewtwo looked indifferent and still put away his superpowers. Yu was relieved when he saw this. Xiao, what's going on? Is this also yours? Kiku asked. No. Listen to me. Yu asked Lily and Xiaoxu to take care of Mewtwo first, and then he and Kiku held a family meeting to tell them everything that happened in the past few days. You said that Pokémon that fought Giratina equally was actually made by Team Rocket? Kiku said in disbelief. Has Team Rocket's technology developed to this extent? Yes. Yu said. How is it possible? The most outstanding scientists and researchers in the world will be directly recruited by the League as soon as they graduate. Team Rocket cannot have more professional doctor than the League. And even the 3D dragon created by Dr. Akihabara, who is the first in the field of making biological Pokémon, is only as powerful as an ordinary Pokémon, not even as good as Charmander. Kyojin said in disbelief. Technology is the primary productive force. No one will doubt this. And the League, as the world's highest power machine, the world's top scientists are all in the League. When the League recruits personnel, the first thing it reviews is political review and ideological awareness. Many people cannot pass this level, but character has nothing to do with ability, and there are some things that the League cannot do, but other organizations can do. Dr. Kiku said. The League has the best resources and the greatest power. Working in the League can also give you the opportunity to be remembered for generations, appear in textbooks, and let future generations admire you forever. But some people are born not to like to be famous, they just like to cause trouble. And the League is an official organization. Some research cannot be done. For example, in the research on Pokéball, Team Rocket developed a dark ball that can ignore the will of Pokémon and forcibly subdue and control Pokémon. But if such research is proposed in the League's parliament, it will be killed. Some things are not that they cannot be studied, but that they cannot be studied. The creation of Mewtwo, based on genetic research, is at the cost of the death of thousands of Pokémon and humans. For Team Rocket, as long as they can create Mewtwo to rule the world and kill tens of thousands of ordinary Pokémon, they will make a lot of money. And if the League dares to do this, the president of the League will be waiting to go to jail, and the political rights will be deprived for life within 3 generations. Although the treatment given by the League is good, when facing some professional talents, many private enterprises will give several times the treatment given by the League. Yuma said. The Sasaki family has a lot of say in this regard. Why is Kajiro proficient in machine manufacturing? It's not because, when he was a child, Sasaki dug up many geniuses from various places. That's not very dangerous. Team Rocket can create the first one, so they can also create the second one. It's too dangerous. We must notify the League, said Yuba. The League can handle one Mewtwo, but if Team Rocket keeps creating 10 or 100, the League really can't do it. Don't worry about this, because Mewtwo is a special case and it's almost impossible to replicate. Moreover, the professor who created Mutuo was killed by Mutuo, and the information was taken away by Mutuo himself. Yu said. Anyway, Team Rocket has been researching for so many years, but when Xiaozi ran to Alala and won the championship, they still didn't create another Mutuo. They even gave up in Unova and planned to use the Unova 3 clouds to rule the world. After all, this is not scientific. One eyelash of Mew, whose race value is only 600, created Mutuo with a race value of 680. Moreover, Mew can't mega evolve, but Mutuo can mega evolve. It's totally unreasonable. If such a miracle can be repeated, it will be really against the will of heaven. If they are all killed, then it will be over once and for all. Kiku breathed a sigh of relief. As the oldest of the 4 heavenly kings of the Alliance, and with outstanding descendants, she was the last to want any major changes. But on the other hand, because it is the only one, Team Rocket is determined to get this Mutuo, and will never let it go. And within 10 years, this Mutuo will be inseparable from Xiaoyao, so they may attack Xiaoyao. Yu's mother said. Are we still afraid of them? Team Rocket, if you have the guts, come out. I will catch one by one and simply uproot Team Rocket. Kyojin said. After she wiped out Team Galaxy in Sinnoh last time, her official position was promoted. Now she is already a big boss in Interpol. Team Rocket is different from Team Galaxy. Team Galaxy has only so many people, while Team Rocket is spread all over Kanto, Johto and Orange Islands. The number of people is beyond imagination. Kiku glanced at Kyojin and said. Aunt, I've always wanted to ask you, what kind of organization is Team Rocket? But you always said I was too young, and didn't explain it clearly. Can I ask you now? Yu asked. To be honest, he was very curious about how Team Rocket came into being. You know, Team Rocket is sometimes bolder than you can imagine. It holds annual meetings regularly, and often acts arrogantly, and the organizational structure is really not very tight. People like Yamato, Kasaburo, Musashi, and Kojiro can contact the headquarters directly, and all of these people have been arrested by the police station. Is Sasaki really so casual? Unless Team Rocket is strong enough to confront the Alliance. But this is impossible. As the highest institution that rules the world, the Alliance can only confront those they don't want to confront, but not those they can't confront. Well, I wanted to wait until you are older before explaining it to you, but now that you have brought it up, I will tell you. I told you about the origin of Team Rocket, and it started when the Alliance was founded. And what does the establishment of the Elf Alliance mean? You should have memorized it. Kiku said. It means that society has entered a new era. The people have overthrown the 2 mountains of feudalism and capitalism. The people have begun to have their own rights and entered a new era. Human beings are born equal and can freely own Pokémon instead of being only the nobles in the past. Yu said. That's right, but in fact, the establishment of any political institution involves compromises, and progress is not something that can be achieved overnight. There are many former nobles in the Alliance. They are dissatisfied with the disappearance of their privileges, so they secretly manipulate a force that does dirty work for them. Once something happens, they can be thrown away at any time. The Alliance turns a blind eye to the overall stability. Kiku said. This organization is the predecessor of Team Rocket. Yu said. This has been said before. It's right and it's not right, because after the establishment of the Alliance for 100 years, the regime is stable and the power of the civilians has increased. The new president used thundering means to clean up that organization and the people behind them, and directly cleared out all the remnants of the feudal nobles. Kiku said. So powerful, then how did the current Team Rocket come about? Yu said in surprise. Because where there are people, there is corruption. People always have selfish motives. Just like I want you to join the Alliance and let you go up, I will pave the way for you. At the same time, our Kyojin family has a history of hundreds of years. How many people in the Alliance have benefited from us? If something goes wrong, will they help or not? So new nobles and aristocratic families were born. And this is against the essence of the establishment of the Alliance, but many people think the same as me. They even want to manipulate the Alliance and make it their alliance. Kiku said. Who is so powerful? Yu said. You don't need to know this. You are too young. It's useless to know. At your age, you should be high-spirited and vigorous. Kikuko said. Then can I ask about the general trend of the Alliance family? Yu asked. Let's talk about the one you are most familiar with, the Yulan family, who want to become eternal nobles and hereditary positions. Why do you think Do has not been able to become a champion for so many years? Is it really just a matter of strength? We have not won champions in Kanto and Johto for many years. Is this worth boasting about? Because Do is from the Yulan family, Kona is suppressing him. The Yulan family wanted to transfer one of Kona and Do to Johto several times, but they were suppressed by Damalanchi. Until this year, Do passed the assessment of the special investigator and showed the ability recognized by Damalanchi. He was sure that he would put the public first and would not be too biased towards the family, so he let him go to Johto. The problem is that Do and the family are now having some problems. Kikuko said. Yu was stunned. Forgive me for my young age and ignorance. And the Oak family has stood firmly on the side of the Alliance for generations, vigorously cooperating in the introduction of the 10-year-old adult law and providing 3 Pokémon with great potential. The final evolution of the Pokémon of the rookie trainers in each region is the top among the Pokémon. Aren't you curious why they can get it? If it was a few hundred years ago, Pokémon like Charmander, Squirtle, and Bulbasaur, civilians would have no chance, even if they risked half their lives. If they paid enough money, they would only have one walking grass. It is because the official alliance wants to weaken our families, so they give civilians a chance. Kikuko said. Then which side does our family stand on? Yu asked. We stand in the middle. Kikuko said. Yu looked puzzled. What kind of answer is this? We, the Kyojin family, have our own moral standards. We can't do what the Yulan family did. In this era, we still want to be feudal, which is out of date. But we can't be like the Oak family, so we stand in the middle and see the situation. Kikuko said. Just fence sitters? Yu said. Brat, do you say that about your own family? Kikuko looked at Yu unhappily and said. Let's talk about Team Rocket. What happened? Yu said. After that, it was a repeat of what happened in the past. A group of families supported them again, but this time they made a mistake. Sasaki's mother and he were both important people. They took the opportunity to continuously develop Team Rocket, and they caught those people's handles, and they were unable to get rid of them. In the end, they developed into the behemoth they are now. The Alliance wants to move them, but those older mortals stop them. Those older mortals want to take action, but they are afraid of losing too much power and being solved by the Alliance. It has become such a strange triangle relationship. However, because of their existence, the internal tension of the Alliance has eased a lot. Kikuko said. So it is not difficult to eliminate Team Rocket. The difficult part is, after eliminating it, how much will the cost be? How many people in the Alliance will be dismissed? And how much turmoil will the entire Alliance have? And how many people will be lost in the process of eliminating them? And will the owner of the Alliance be replaced? Yu said. That's right. Team Rocket is in its current state, just short of being a legitimate club. It's not difficult to get rid of it, but if it's done, the league will be in turmoil. Besides Team Rocket, there will be another Team Rocket. It's just a temporary solution, and it can ease the situation. So let it exist. Kikuko said. But Team Rocket doesn't seem to want to be just a relief. It wants to overthrow the league. Yu said. This has nothing to do with you. Just listen to it. Your priority now is to think about how to play in the league conference, win the championship, and shine in the champion league. At most, you can study super evolution. The rest has nothing to do with you now. Kikuko said. You let me know, but you still won't let me participate. After all, I'm an adult. Yu complained. The 10-year-old adult law was originally just a helpless measure. The new parliament of the league is considering delaying the time of adulthood. And according to the rules among the nobles, those who are not married are not considered adults. Kikuko looked at Yu and said. Yu was dissatisfied, but was finally driven out. Aunt, what should we do if Team Rocket won't behave? Yu's father looked at Kikuko and said. First, let me warn you. Team Rocket's power is beyond control. If the two forces know about Mewtwo's existence, Team Rocket will have to pay a heavy price, even if they are not destroyed. If they really don't listen, we will fight them seriously. No matter what troubles they have, we will bear them in the front. We are not dead yet, so we naturally have to support the children. Kiku said. Yu's father, Yu's mother, and Kyojin all nodded. Chapter 81, True New Town. Pallet Town. Kanto Town. A picturesque country town with harmonious neighbors, simple folk customs and pleasant scenery. Because it is the residence of the famous doctor, Professor Oak. Generally speaking, those who challenge the quartz conference must come here to receive the Pokémon encyclopedia and register. It can also be said to be the beginning of the Kanto Alliance journey. A sports car drove in from the town gate and stopped in front of the Mountain of Oak Research Institute. Yu got out of the car, followed by Xiaoxu and Lilia. Mutuo, aren't you coming out? Yu turned his head and looked at Mutuo, who was reading a book in the passenger seat. No. Mutuo calmly flipped the book. Yu said that it had never read a book, so it started reading at Yu's house. Les Miserables, desperate housewives, all kinds of things that should be read and shouldn't be read, all are read. The whole person's aura has changed inexplicably, and I don't know if it's good or bad, but it finally has its first hobby in life, reading. Go ahead. There are many Pokémon living freely there. Don't you want to see how other Pokémon live? Especially plant Pokémon. They have never seen anything since they were born. Yu said. At least they are Pokémon, not my kind. Mutuo said. You are also a Pokémon, the only Pokémon in this world. Everything that exists is a living thing, and reading thousands of books is not as good as traveling thousands of miles. See more. Yu said. No. Mutuo said. Professor Oak, there are many different books here. Yu said. Mutuo's eyes lit up, and his body disappeared out of thin air, and then appeared next to Yu. Yu smiled slightly. After spending a long time with Mutuo, he felt more and more that Mutuo was actually a Pokémon that was easy to get along with. He hated humans, but as long as his emotions were not out of control, he would not kill people. He was withdrawn, but he was easy to talk to, especially now that he would not kill Yu. He would be much easier to talk to. After all, it was a question whether Mutuo was 3 years old or not. He was really still a child. At most, he was a child with psychological problems. And Yu was professional in this regard. Okay, Dragonite, come out and carry the things. Yu took out the Dragonite Pokeball. A red light flashed, and Dragonite appeared, opened the trunk, and carried 2 boxes of instant noodles. Don't steal food. Yu looked at Dragonite and warned. He had been home for a while, and he had a preliminary understanding of Dragonite's character. This guy is just a glutton. Ever since he was brought home, things in the kitchen have been stolen frequently. Those who know that he has captured a Dragonite, and those who don't know think that he has captured a Snorlax. Dragonite shouted in dissatisfaction, "Am I such a dragon?" Yu nodded affirmatively. Dragonite raised his head proudly, and then swallowed his saliva calmly. Such delicious instant noodles are not for me to eat. How can I be a human trainer? Looking at Dragonite's little expression, Yu smiled. Although Dragonite caused him a lot of trouble, capturing Dragonite really brought him a lot of happiness. Things like moving things. If it was in the past, he could only do it by himself. Flamahorn and Absol have no hands. Raichu has no fingers. Squirtle's height is a disadvantage, and Haunter is lazier than him. But it's different with Dragonite. Dragonite is tall and strong, with strong arms, more reliable than super strength. Grandpa Oak, I'm here. Yu called outside the research institute. Xiaoyao, you're finally here. Xiaozi and Xiaomeo both said you should come back first, but they came back a month ago, and you just came. The door of the research institute opened, and a kind old man came out and said, "Didn't something delay you?" Yu smiled. Originally, I arrived very early, but there was an accident. I played slowly and wasted time. Later, I met Mutuo. Just playful. Professor Oak looked at Yu with amusement, then glanced at Mutuo on the side, and his eyes changed suddenly. "Why is this Pokémon here with you?" "This is a long story," Yu said. "Then let's make it short, and stop keeping us in suspense, or I'll take off your pants and beat you," Professor Oak said impatiently. Yu couldn't help but blush when Professor Oak told him to take off his pants and beat him in front of Xiaoxu and Lilia. That's why he didn't like being with these elders, because he didn't know when he would make a fool of himself. Is there a book here? Muto looked at Professor Oak and said, yes. Professor Oak nodded. Where? Muto said. Professor Oak pointed in a direction, and then Muto teleported and disappeared from the spot. What kind of Pokémon is this? Professor Oak looked at Yu with a curious look. At the level of Professor Oak, he was really almost desireless. He had money, wealth, power and status, and he didn't care about them. The only thing he cared about was academic research. A new Pokémon, and a Pokémon that could compete with Giratina. Professor Oak's curiosity about Muto was so strong that it exploded. Okay, anyway, it's not the first time I've explained it. Yu told Professor Oak everything that happened to him. So that's how it is. Team Rocket is even more powerful than I thought. But what surprised me even more is that you actually became the messenger of Giratina. Professor Oak said. Excellent, but I need Grandpa Oak to keep this a secret for me. Yu said. Don't worry, the old man knows this, and even if it is really told, who dares to touch you? Professor Oak said. It's not that you are afraid of thieves stealing, but that you are afraid of thieves thinking about it. As long as there is a way, you will always be tricked. Yu said. Although Giratina's thigh is very hard and thick, it is not omnipotent. In the Sinnoh movie, it was almost killed by humans first, and then it was almost killed by Arceus. Be a little more stable. Yes, humans' talent for destruction is really terrible. Professor Oak said with deep feelings. The terrifying talent created by Pokémon is still difficult for humans to imitate so far, but the talent for destruction is almost better than humans. That's why we need such a great man like Grandpa Oak to study the relationship between humans and Pokémon, and make this world a better place. Yu said with a smile. Don't praise me too much, be careful if your aunt hears it, I'll beat you up. Also, did you sneak out this time? Dr. Oak said. Of course not, I came out openly. Yu said. Then you have something to trouble me, tell me. Dr. Oak said. Grandpa Oak, am I such a person in your heart? Isn't it normal for me to come to visit my elders? Yu said. Then don't look for me if you have something. Dr. Oak said with a hint of mischief in his eyes. That's not the case. Yu smiled embarrassedly and took out the Pokémon egg of Eevee from his backpack. Grandpa Oak, this is my Eevee egg. Logically, it should have hatched a long time ago, but it hasn't hatched yet. I knew something was wrong with you. But it's useless to ask me about this hatching problem. You should ask Miss Joy. I'm not as authoritative as Miss Joy in terms of eggs. I just have a doctorate title. Don't be fooled by these false honors. Dr. Oak said earnestly. I've been there. Miss Joy said everything is in good condition. It may be that the breeder made a mistake, but I still want Grandpa Oak to do another test to make me feel at ease. Yu said. If this can make you feel at ease, it's okay. Dr. Oak said. This kind of thing is not the first time it has happened. Many times, some people think that he is a Pokémon doctor and is very professional in all aspects. But in fact, in the cultivation of Pokémon eggs and medical treatment, his level is about the same as most Joys. So basically everyone refuses, but Yu is an exception, just treated as coaxing a child. Also, this is the Dragonite I just captured. It likes to eat instant noodles. So I want to ask Grandpa Oak to train it. Yu said. Dr. Oak's main force, Dragonite. Like to eat instant noodles? There is some future, put it in the backyard, and you can come to claim it when the Quartz conference comes. Dr. Oak said. Okay. Yu said happily. Dr. Oak's backyard is a training ground. Before being captured, Zyoz's crab was stupid and was captured by Zyozzy with a Pokeball. After being in the Oak Research Institute for a while, in the first battle, it defeated 3 people alone. It also evolved quickly and learned to destroy the Death Ray. If you don't count Greninja, Yu always thinks that Zyos is water Pokémon. Crab is the strongest. Don't be so happy. My research institute is so big. I have been taking care of it alone. It's very tiring. Just in time for you to come. Be my assistant for a while. Dr. Oak said. That's perfect. I know that Grandpa Oak is very tired, so this time, I brought 2 assistants to Grandpa Oak, Lily and Zyaksu. Lily can do theoretical research, and Zyaksu can do cultivation. Yu pushed Lily and Zyaksu. Lily and Zyaksu looked at Professor Oak with trepidation, fearing that they would be rejected, but full of hope. Professor Oak glanced at Yu and said, "I should be thankful that this kid is not my grandson, otherwise I would have used him to death. He asked me to help train Pokémon and wanted to get some benefits from him, but he asked me to continue training his companions. It's crazy. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels." Chapter 82 Peaceful Life. Entering Oak's laboratory, a whole morning passed in a busy manner. At 12:30 noon, they barely finished and fed every Pokémon, but Yu and the other two were already starving. Dragging their tired bodies towards the laboratory. Is Professor Oak responsible for all these things? Professor Oak is so amazing. Lily exclaimed. She used to be an assistant to Professor Kiku and had seen how he usually worked. She thought that Dr. Kiku's work was busy enough, but now compared with Professor Oak, she found that she really underestimated him. That's why Professor Oak is so admired. Yu exclaimed. People in Pallet Town are all supermen. Yu, have you known Professor Oak since childhood? Zyaksu asked. She found that this place was very suitable for her. She could see all kinds of different Pokémon and take care of them. Yes, I often came here when I was a kid, and I'm familiar with the whole Pallet Town. Besides, our family has always had a good relationship with Grandpa Oak's family. If you really count it, Grandpa Oak and I are also relatives. Yu said. The mother of the niece of the cousin of the cousin of the cousin of the cousin is the distant cousin of Professor Oak. The three of them walked and talked, and when they arrived at the research institute, they saw that Professor Oak was still doing research, and they couldn't help but admire him. It's done. It's pretty fast. You must be hungry. Let's have a meal together. Professor Oak said. Zyaksu and Lily were about to say that having a meal with the world famous Professor Oak was something to boast about. No, I've asked Aunt Hanako to go to her house. Yu interrupted in advance. Zyaksu and Lily were puzzled, but under Yu's eyes, they tacitly did not speak. Go to Hanako's place, that's good, no problem. Professor Oak nodded, and then turned around to continue his research. Yu took Zyaksu and Lily and left silently. Yu, why don't we stay and eat with Professor Oak? Zyaksu asked curiously as Lily left the Oak Research Institute. If you stay, do you want to eat braised beef noodles or pickled cabbage? Yu said. Does Professor Oak only eat instant noodles? Zyaksu said. No, he eats all kinds of instant noodles. He has no time to cook for himself. And he is a bit lazy in his personal life. Yu said. But it's not healthy to eat instant noodles all the time. And won't you get tired of it? Zyaksu asked curiously. So, most of the time, it's Aunt Hanako who kindly brings him food. Yu said. Who is Aunt Hanako? Zyaksu asked. Zyaksu's mother. Yu said as she walked. When she came to this point, she just came to an exquisite house, and then her expression changed instantly, revealing a bright smile. Auntie Hanako. As the voice fell, the house opened, and a beautiful young woman with long braids came out. She was dressed simply and plainly, without any gorgeous decorations, but it was hard to hide her charming style. Her thin waist, that could not be grasped with one hand, made it hard to believe that she was the mother of a 10-year-old child. Zyao, it's you who came. Zyos, he told you that you were coming a long time ago, but you came only now. You have grown up and don't want to care about an old lady like Auntie. Hanako scolded. No, Auntie is forever young. If you go out with me, people who don't know will definitely think that you are my sister. Yu vowed. This is sincere, Hanako, but the champion of the Blue Prussian swimsuit show. Say nice words to coax girls, don't coax me. Have you eaten? Hanako rolled her eyes and said to Yu. No, if I don't come to eat at Auntie Hanako's place, when I come to Pallet Town, where can I eat? Yu said. Then come in and sit for a while. I'll cook for you. Hanako led Yu and the others in. A puppet-like Pokémon came up to them with an apron. Sakagulum, Aunt Hanako, when did you capture it? Yu asked curiously. Sakagulum has the dual attributes of psychic and fairy, and is jokingly called Zyos' stepfather by Pokémon fans. You mean the fairy? When Zyos came back, he came in by himself. He was very cute, Hanako said. Sakagulum hugged Hanako happily. Yu smiled knowingly. Should I say that she is worthy of being Zyos' mother? Sakagulum has the dual attributes of psychic and fairy. Although it is inferior to Gardevoir of the same attribute in terms of appearance and combat power, it is also a rare Pokémon. As a result, it ran in by itself. Not to mention the combat power, just the proficiency in housework. I don't know how many people envy it. It means that, as long as you provide meals, you will have a free bodyguard and servant. So where are Zyos and the others now? Yu looked around, but didn't see Zyos and the other two, so he asked curiously. They said they were doing special training for the Quartz conference, but there is probably no hope. I heard from Zyok that they were just playing during the training this month. Hanako said. Oh. Yu nodded. Zyos couldn't win the league conference championship in the later period because of the malice of the production team. In order to stop him, even the Divine Beast Man was created. But in the early period, he couldn't win the league conference championship. It really had nothing to do with the production team. The main reason was that Zyos was too weak at that time. If he won, it would be unscientific. Now listening to Hanako's statement, it is even more clear that Zyos' loss is not without reason. Yu, are you familiar with Zyos' mother? Zyaksu asked. Isn't Yu's home somewhere else? Why do you feel more familiar here? Oh, that's because my parents are busy and had no time to take care of me when I was a child, so I ran here whenever I had the chance. People here basically know me, and the house next to Zyos' house is also mine, so that I can come here every day and eat Aunt Hanako's food, Yu said. When he decided to come to Pallet Town, he decisively bought the land next to Hanako's house. I want to see what the protagonist is like with my own eyes, see how the physique of the super-real rookie is trained, and solve the biggest unsolved mystery in this Pokémon world, who is Zyos' father. As a result, I haven't seen him since I was 5 years old. Yu thinks that in 9 out of 10 cases, he is dead. But speaking of it, if you have children, you go out on an adventure alone, abandon your wife and children, and let your wife support the family. You are a scumbag. It's a pity for Aunt Hanako. It's boring to be alone. Lilia empathized with her. She is also a rich girl. Her parents are busy with work and don't have much time to take care of her. It was okay with her brother Gladian before, but now her brother is gone. There is only herself and the housekeeper at home, which is much more boring. Zyaksu also nodded with some empathy. She was not a rich girl. On the contrary, she grew up in an orphanage. Because of her talent as a breeder, she was sponsored by the Sasaki family and achieved what she has today. However, life is lonely most of the time. Yu, Zyaksu, and Lily sat on the sofa and chatted, waiting for Hanako to cook and enjoy the delicious food. Then they lived a peaceful and fulfilling life. In the morning, she went to the Oak Research Institute to help, went to Zyos' house for lunch at noon, and trained Pokémon in the afternoon. Chapter 83 Team Rocket Action. Mewtwo is with the only heir of the Jozu family. At the Rocket Team headquarters, Sasaki, who was sitting in an office chair, couldn't help rubbing his brows when he heard the information passed on by his subordinates. Chief, since Mewtwo has been found, when will we make a plan to capture Mewtwo? Dr. Nanba of the Rocket Team looked at Sasaki expectantly. After the Rocket Team's elite scientific researchers were killed by Mewtwo, he is now the Rocket Team's chief scientific doctor. If Mewtwo is found, the Rocket Team will produce a second and third one, and then rule the world. He will become the most famous doctor of this era. Hearing Dr. Nanba's words, Sasaki's originally ugly face became even uglier. If it weren't for his years of scheming that kept him sane, he really wanted to pick up the documents next to him and smash Dr. Nanba on the head. If it were that simple, would you still need to say it? I would give the order directly now. That's the only heir of the Jozu family, and also the second heir of the Sasaki family. Either of these two identities needs to be treated with caution. When the two are combined, as long as the heir is not a pig, the Rocket Team will be wary. Is it worth it for Muto? Can it be snatched or not? Sasaki narrowed his eyes. His expression kept changing, weighing the pros and cons, and finally hesitantly turned into determination and said, "Let Apollo, Bixius, Amado, Casaburo, Curando, Silangli, Ruitang prepare. I will personally lead the team. Take the number 1 fleet to capture Muto. Leader, Muto's power is beyond our imagination. Even if we have specially studied and set up to target Muto, it may not be successful. Leader, if you personally take action, if something goes wrong, the consequences will be disastrous. It is better to let Apollo take the lead and add Lambda and others." Secretary Minori said. "It is because Muto's power is extraordinary that we must use S-level power and equipment. If I don't go, the power is not enough. Lambda cannot be moved. If Lambda is moved, the Kyojin family and the Sasaki family will discover the movement. This is already the strongest force we can mobilize." Sasaki retorted. "Leader, do we really have to go to this extent? If we hurt Kyojin yell, the Sasaki family will break with us, and our organization will suffer great losses." Minori said hesitantly. "If it was just the Kyojin family, it would be fine. They were originally hostile to each other, and at most they would become mortal enemies. Although the Kyojin family is strong, the rockets are stronger. But the Sasaki family is different. 1/3 of the funds for the rocket's scientific research come from the Sasaki family's business. If they break up with the Sasaki family, the consequences will be too great. No matter how big the losses, if we can get back Muto, it's worth it. Besides, he is only the second in line of succession, isn't he? The first in line is now from our rockets." Sasaki said. "The first in line is from our rockets." Manaji looked at Sasaki in confusion. "When did our rockets have such a high-level person? You don't need to know this. As long as we get back Muto, the Sasaki family may not necessarily turn against us." Sasaki did not explain. Kojiro's identity is special, and he is the only one who knows it within the rockets. It is not appropriate to say it in public. "Yes." Manaji nodded. "Sasaki is the real ruler of the rockets. As a secretary, she can make suggestions if she thinks there is a problem, but it is just a suggestion so that Sasaki can think clearly and not make decisions on impulse. Once she made a decision, she had to execute it, whether it was right or wrong, because she didn't have the capital to let Sasaki discuss with her, except for the plans that have been carried out to confuse the Sasaki family and the Kyojin family. All other plans that are ready to be carried out will be temporarily shelved, and all resources and strength will be concentrated on the plan to capture Muto." Sasaki solemnly warned. "If Muto is successfully captured this time, the rocket team will not be able to show up for a long time, and some middle and low level people will need to be sent to the Kyojin family to appease the anger. Then these resources will be useless. Instead of being seized by the alliance at that time, it is better to use them all now." "Yes." A group of senior cadres agreed in unison. Yu, who is still in Pallet Town, doesn't know what happened. Live a leisurely life. Eat the food made by Hinako, play with Zyossi, and coax Lily and Zyaksu. It feels that life has reached its peak. At this moment, there are only 3 weeks left before the Pokémon League Quartz Conference, and Zyos's so-called independent training has not yet produced any results. But Zyossi doesn't seem to be in a hurry. Yu started another training path. First, he taught Muto the Pokémon skill of gravity, and then he let Squirtle and his group of brothers train around Muto. The power of the special skills did not increase much, but the physical strength of all Pokémon increased significantly. Now everyone is sitting together to watch the videotapes of the past Pokémon League conference. When the video of Shiba fighting with Abiron was playing, Zyaksu suddenly appeared and turned off the TV. "What are you doing?" Zyossi said dissatisfiedly. "There are only a few days left before the Quartz Conference, and you are still playing. What are you doing?" Zyaksu pointed at Zyossi. "We are training now. What was just played was the video of the game of Master Shiba of the 4 Heavenly Kings. Next, Master Shiba will use the legendary Big Secret technique." Zyanagang explained. Yes, the Big Secret technique." Zyossi nodded his head fiercely, and then suddenly said, "What is the Big Secret technique?" Yu, Zyaksu, and Zyanagang were all stunned. You don't know. What are you doing? Zyraksha said. Anyway, it's something very powerful. I want to be Master Ziva's apprentice and learn the great secrets. Zyrazi said passionately. This is impossible. Zyraksha hit him mercilessly. That's right. Master Ziva is one of the 4 heavenly kings, a superstar among superstars. It's hard for us to even meet once. Zyanagang said disappointedly, and they could only sit in front of the TV and watch the videotape. Thinking of this, Zyrazi became disappointed again. You really want to meet? It's okay. If Zyrazi wants to become a disciple, I can also recommend him. Yu said on the side. Although Zyrazi doesn't have any fighting Pokémon now, he thinks Zyrazi is quite suitable to be the apprentice of the fighting King Ziba. Yu, do you know Master Ziba? Zyrazi happily rushed to Yu. Yes. Yu said, the 4 heavenly kings. Which one of them do I not know? But Yu, how do you know the 4 heavenly kings? Zyraksha asked curiously. My aunt is the ghost king Kiku among the 4 heavenly kings. The 4 heavenly kings are a group, and Ziba is quite special. I have known him for a long time. Is this strange? Yu said. Ah. Yu, your aunt is Kiku, one of the 4 heavenly kings. Zyrazi, Zyraksha, and Zyanagang all said in surprise. That reaction was like a group of huskies playing happily, and suddenly found out that one of the huskies was a wolf. Yu looked at Zyrazi and the other 2 with an inexplicable expression and said, haven't I ever told you? Especially Zyrazi, have you never known? My aunt sent me here when I was a child, and I also went to the Oak Research Institute to make trouble. Oh, so that old woman is one of the 4 heavenly kings. Zyrazi said after realizing it. Yu lowered his head and covered his face. He really lost to you. But think about it. Among Zyrazi's friends, there is the grandson of the 4 heavenly kings. It's impossible to think about it. Such a person will grow up with Zyrazi. Zyraksha said. Are you surprised? Didn't Zyrazi grow up with Zyarmeo? Zyarmeo is also the grandson of Professor Oak. Yu said, and you and Zyanagang, both gym trainers, also traveled with Zyrazi. What's this? You know, many of the king's juniors may just be gym trainers. You know? Is Professor Oak very powerful? Zyraksha asked in surprise. Yu bowed his head completely. Okay, I was wrong. I lost to you. Chapter 84, Danger on the Road. Miyaja Mountain, finally willing to leave Pallet Town. Sasaki looked at the news, his eyes sparkling. Leader, according to the news, their target is Shiba, who is training at Miyaja Mountain. With Shiba's relationship with Kiku, he will definitely help. One more king will have a great impact on our plan. Minori said. So, we have to stop them in the middle and resolve the battle within an hour between Pallet Town and Miyaja Mountain. Sasaki said. Sasaki didn't want to meet Shiba in Miyaja Mountain and Oki in Pallet Town at this time. Yes. Minori bowed his head and received the order, passing on Sasaki's order. Not long after, the elite of Team Rocket came out together, forming a large net to shrink towards Yu and his group. Yu knew nothing about it. He took Lilia, Zyaksu, Zyrazi, Zyraksha, and Zyanagang to Miyaja Mountain, as if they were going on an outing. Although Zyrazi and Zyanagang were excited throughout the whole process, they couldn't wait to leave all the way, but Yu still looked leisurely. As for Shiba, he could see her several times every year, so he couldn't get excited, even if he wanted to. If it was Kona or Serona, Yu might get excited. Muto also came along, silently following Yu, using his superpowers to float forward while reading. These days, following Yu, he suddenly realized that his use of superpowers was a bit superficial. He let the books float around automatically, and when he was interested, he could just take out a book and exercise his superpowers. He was reading without distraction, and his keen 6 senses could basically detect danger in advance. Just like now, looking at a motto in the book, Muto suddenly raised his head. Green light flashed in his eyes, and looked straight at the sky. What's wrong with Muto? Yu looked at Muto. Here comes the guy who's in the way. Muto's eyes showed disgust, and a wave missile condensed in his hands and suddenly threw it into the sky. With a bang, a green energy shield appeared out of thin air, and then a majestic airship appeared above the heads of Yu and his group. Yu's face suddenly changed. The invisible airship used a special supernatural coating to simulate Latias's light control to achieve complete invisibility. Fortunately, Muto discovered it in advance, otherwise they would be in real danger. But even if they knew it in advance, it didn't mean they would be safe. The bright radar on the invisible airship said too much. Team Rocket is here after all. As expected of a Pokémon we made, Muto, your power is stronger than before. A platform suddenly stretched out from the airship, and a middle-aged man appeared on it, and looked at Muto and exclaimed, "Disgusting human." Muto's eyes flashed green, and the powerful superpower surged, turning into a blade-like blade and hitting Sasaki. Sasaki smiled and was indifferent, as if he was not afraid at all. Muto's terrifying superpower blades were blocked by a few transparent glass half a meter in front of Sasaki. Muto looked at Sasaki in surprise, and it was hard to imagine that humans had such means. Surprised? This is the power of human beings. Do you think I didn't make any preparations? This superpower glass is specially used to resist powerful superpower attacks. We collected enough data from you, and made it for you. According to your previous data, this glass can resist for at least 15 minutes. Accept your fate. I told you that Pokémon live for humans, and you have to live for me. Sasaki said. It's better to let me die than to let me live for you. Muto said coldly. Then don't blame me. Sasaki pressed a button, and two strange robots flew out of the huge airship, sending out powerful electric waves to attack Muto at the same time. Muto waved his hand and shattered the electric waves. He looked at the two robots with contempt and said, "No matter how strong a thing is, it can't be that strong without a heart. Of course, that's why you are more important. Fight for me and be my Pokémon. Otherwise not only you will suffer today, but also your friends." Sasaki looked at Xiaozi and others on the side threateningly. You can't die, but except you, all the others can't die. Moreover, you just can't die, which doesn't mean he can't get hurt. Muto looked at Sasaki with a very strange look. Which eye of yours is blind? How can you see that I'm friends with this group of people? If you want them to suffer, then let them suffer. What does it have to do with me? Mr. Sasaki, you openly threaten me like this, which makes me feel very difficult to do. You said. It's because you stole the Pokémon of our rocket team that makes it difficult for me to do it. I don't want to hurt you, but if you want to stand on the opposite side of our rocket team, then we may also take some measures. So I advise you to give up Muto. We can give you a satisfactory compensation. Mini Dragon, Yukara, whatever you choose. Sasaki said solemnly. Sorry, I can't do it. I can't give up Muto. And Muto is not a subsidiary of anyone or Pokémon. It is its own master. Pokémon do not live for humans. They are also the lives and masters living on this planet. You said. That's right. Every Pokémon is our partner and friend. Not living for anyone. Xiaozi echoed. Pikachu waved his hands angrily, expressing his determination. Cheomeng looked at Yu and his Pokémon in surprise. As a superpower Pokémon, he had a clear sense of the inner thoughts of humans. Just now, he sensed that these two people were not lying. What kind of creatures are humans? This is just the naive and ignorant thoughts of you children. When you grow up, you will know how ridiculous your thoughts are. Sasaki said. So you want to admit that you are not as good as children, right? You said. You are just talking a lot, but you can't talk about it. Then don't blame me. Sasaki's eyes were sharp. He didn't have much confidence. He just wanted to give it a try. It would be best if he could avoid bloodshed and not have a conflict with Yu. But if he didn't cooperate, he would just do it. Everyone didn't have much time. As soon as the voice fell, the ground suddenly collapsed. The ground cracked, and the mountains collapsed, and a large rock snake roared underground. Yu immediately used the ghost power to lift everyone up, but before he could stand firm and fight back, a lot of wind and sand suddenly appeared on all sides, and a sandstorm blew up in the flat hills. 4 2 or 3 meter tall armored Pokémon suddenly appeared, with ferocious expressions and terrifying power. 4 purple black energy balls flew out. Bangara, evil wave. Muto's eyes turned cold, and his superpower burst out, forming an indestructible barrier around him to resist the 4 evil waves, and then he used his superpower to hit the 4 Bangaras. Bangara's body shook slightly, and then it was completely unharmed, and a stronger evil wave was emitted. Mewtwo's eyes flashed with a sharp light, preparing for a more fierce attack. In the sky, a large group of high-tech weapons flew out, spewing lightning, flames and various energies together. Each attack was at least equal to the full force of an elite level elf. Moreover, Pokémon have physical strength limits, but machines do not. Professor Oak, who was studying in the research institute, noticed the changes in the distance. His face changed drastically, and he quickly called his Dragonite to fly at high speed. When Shiba, who was practicing in Macha Mountain, saw this scene, his expression changed, and he released a huge rock snake, rushing all the way to the windy and sandy place. Chapter 85, Life and Death. Smoke and dust rolled, covering the sky and the sun. The sky was dark, and Yu and his companions could not see clearly what was happening with their naked eyes. Mewtwo's face became gloomy, and his superpower surged. Heavy rain fell from the sky, suppressing the sandstorm. But before he could stabilize, 4 Bangaras tried to suppress him with powerful attacks. Especially a huge Bangara that was nearly 4 meters tall, with a giant bee hiding in the wind and sand beside it, cooperating with Bangara's attack, and missile needles kept shooting. There were also high-tech weapons all over the sky, almost all of which had the effect of halving superpower attacks. Mewtwo rarely felt a pressure. It was beaten up by Giratina, and although it recovered a lot, it was still far from its peak state. Yu wanted to help, but before he could help, a group of giant rock snakes trapped him early, and launched various attacks. Sasaki did not intend to kill Yu, so he would never let him intervene, and let him be trapped here quietly to avoid being affected. Yu exploded with a shadow ball, knocking down a giant Onix, but soon another giant Onix rushed over, and he could only barely deal with it. If only Yu wanted to leave, it would be easy, but Xiaoxu, Lily, Xiaozi, Xiaoxia, and Xiaogang were all there, and he had to take care of them. He was exhausted, and had no extra strength. Looking at the scene, he couldn't help but worry. Sasaki personally went out, and Apollo, who was second only to Sasaki in the rocket team. Bangara and Beedrill were almost champion strength. There were also these high-tech weapons specially prepared for Mewtwo, and Mewtwo was really in danger. Damn it. Being suppressed again, Mewtwo showed an extremely impatient and violent expression on his face, and the superpower on his body soared, and a terrifying high-energy storm formed around him. Apollo's face was tense. This was his first time to see Mewtwo. He had always heard Sasaki say that it was very strong, but he had never seen it. He was a little indifferent in his heart, especially after knowing that Mewtwo was a psychic attribute. He was even more relaxed, but now he found that he seemed to know nothing about strength. Mewtwo roared, and the terrifying superpower on his body burst out, rushing towards the other Pokémon like a river and sea. It was like the sky was falling, and the earth was splitting apart. All the high-tech weapons in the sky exploded, and turned into flames. Even 3 of the 4 Bangara were defeated by him, and collapsed to the ground. After a burst of explosions, the sky and the earth were clear. Apollo couldn't help swallowing his saliva. Just last year, research showed that the evil attribute and the steel attribute existed. Although the public is not very clear about these 2 attributes due to time constraints, Team Rocket is not the public, so they are naturally clear. The evil attribute is immune to the attack of the psychic attribute. How did this Mewtwo use the psychic attribute to defeat 3 evil Bangara? However, Apollo quickly calmed down because he found that Mewtwo began to tremble. Such a powerful force always has a price to pay, and he couldn't bear it. Bangara, evil wave. Apollo roared. Beedrill, missile needle. Sasaki's voice also sounded at the same time. Among all the attributes, the bug attribute has always been despised, because most bug attribute Pokémon are weak. There are few strong ones, and the attack range of its own attributes is narrow. But the bug attribute is a rare attribute that can restrain both the psychic attribute and the evil attribute. Bangala and Beedrill heard the order and attacked at the same time. Bangala's mouth was full of aggressive purple-black energy balls, and many flying needles flew out of Beedrill's tail, all flying towards Mewtwo. Haunter! Yu shouted coldly, and Haunter immediately floated to his side. One person and one Pokémon's ghost energy resonated, and the powerful energy penetrated Haunter. Haunter instantly soared to the strength of a king, and a huge shadow ball flew out to block Beedrill's missile needle. Mewtwo raised his hand and slapped the evil wave aside, then looked at Yu and said, "I don't need your help." Then run first. Yu used Ghost Energy Burst, taking Zyossi and his group with him, and flew back in the direction of Pallet Town. Team Rocket came prepared, and all the equipment they deployed was designed to restrain Mewtwo. If they continue to fight, something bad will happen. It is better to go back to Pallet Town. Although Professor Oak has retired, the main pets have not been released yet. Seeing this, Mewtwo immediately followed, with power fluctuating on his body, intending to use teleportation. "Can you leave?" Sasaki shouted coldly, and 4 special spaceships flew over, emitting special magnetic fields, locking the 4 directions of space. Mewtwo teleported, but only moved 10 meters. The victory of technology and the wisdom of mankind are something you Pokémon will never be able to match. Sasaki looked at Mewtwo proudly. The ghost magnetic field wave is specially used to block the ability to teleport. Mewtwo did not answer, and it was not known whether it was due to insufficient power or something else. Yu, who was about to leave, saw that Mewtwo could not leave, and immediately allocated some power to take Mewtwo away. But before he could fly away, Sakaki's spaceship stopped Yu. You can go, but it's impossible to take Mewtwo away. Sorry, I don't have the habit of abandoning my companions and leaving alone, Yu said. Stubborn. Sasaki shook his head, and then pressed the last attack button. Countless powerful new weapons flew out and attacked Mewtwo. Mewtwo and Haunter cooperated at the same time, and used the ultimate move of defending. The green light shield surrounded Yu and his group. The 2 forces suddenly collided, and a violent energy storm broke out. Smoke and dust rolled, blocking the view. After the smoke and dust cleared, the scene after the battle was revealed. With Yu as the center, the terrain within a radius of several miles was completely blown up, as if it was after a magnitude 10 earthquake. Mewtwo and Haunter both showed tired expressions on their faces. The Rocket team's attack was stronger than expected, and it was specifically restrained against psychic attribute attacks. Mewtwo's power was specifically restrained. Sakaki's expression was indifferent, and the shells continued, and the sound was earth-shaking. Mewtwo, Haunter, hold on. As long as we can hold on for this period of time, it will be the end of Team Rocket, Yu said. With such a big commotion, as long as Oak and Hibber are not fools, they will rush over. And the local government will definitely be dispatched. As long as the time is extended, he can turn defeat into victory. Haunter said nothing, and resonated with Yu synchronously, tacitly burning every bit of physical strength to resist. Mewtwo is also overloaded with superpowers. If it is allowed to live for Sasaki, he would rather die. Zyossi, Zyaksha, Zyadagang, Zyaksu, and Lilia watched this scene, full of worry and self-blame. Their own strength is not helpful at all in such a battle. The battle continued. Yu, Mewtwo, and Haunter held on tightly, and the green light film kept shaking, as if it would be shattered in the next moment, but it was firmly stabilized. Seeing this, Sasaki frowned. Mewtwo's strength was weaker than expected, and it couldn't last long after being injured, but Yu's strength was much stronger than expected. There was no room for hesitation. Makoto, fire Super R Beam. Sasaki said. Chief, Mewtwo and the others are already at the end of their strength, and can't hold on for much longer. There's no need to use Super R Beam. Once it's used, Mewtwo and Liao may die. Makoto said. Super R Beam is the latest attack research of Dr. Nanbo. The energy of the entire spacecraft is only enough for one time, and it is extremely powerful. But if Cheo Mewtwo is killed, it will be meaningless. Mewtwo will not die. As for Liao, I can't care about it. Mewtwo's potential is greater than I thought. Even if we become enemies with the Sasaki family and the Kyojin family, it's nothing. Sasaki said. After holding on until now, Sasaki has a new understanding of Mewtwo. Mewtwo is stronger than he imagined. Yes. Makoto decided to press the button, and suddenly a rapid alarm sounded. Chief, the radar detected an unknown huge Pokémon coming towards us quickly from the ground. The energy detector shows that it is a powerful Onix. Makoto suddenly said. It should be Shiba. Don't worry about it, fire it. Sasaki said. Yes. Zinio launched an attack quickly, Suddenly, the airship shook, and a terrifying energy beam burst out from the airship, destroying everything. Yu and his group changed their faces, and they could not stop it. Dragonite, hold on. At the critical moment, a loud shout came. Then a shadow appeared in front of them, and a huge Dragonite faced the R-beam directly, and a green light wave emerged. Chapter 86 Killing Sasaki. Boom. The RA was more powerful than expected. Dragonite's defense was ruthlessly broken. The ray hit Dragonite strongly. Dragonite roared in pain, looking embarrassed, but finally stood firm. Decades ago, he fought with Professor Oak in the north and south. Even though he hasn't exercised for a long time and has entered a semi-retired state, his foundation is still there. Although the defense was broken, the dragon was not broken. Grandpa Oak, Professor Oak, Yu and Zyossi shouted happily, "Are you all okay?" Professor Oak looked at Yu and said, "Fortunately, he caught up at the last moment. It's okay, it's not too late." Yu said, "Omaza-cheng, are you going to ruin my good thing?" Sasaki stared at Professor Oak with his eyes spitting fire. "Of course, I'm here. You can't hurt Yu, Zyossi and the others." Professor Oak said, "Just you, not enough." Sasaki said, "Dragonite must have been hurt in the attack just now, and Oak hadn't fought for so long. Both the Pokémon and his strength would have degraded. This is not cultivation. If a person's strength is maintained at the peak, then it is the peak. If he does not practice, he will decline. What about me?" A rough voice sounded, and a giant onyx that was several times larger than a normal onyx emerged from the mud. A strong middle-aged man with a bare upper body looked at Sasaki and said, "Shiba." Sasaki gritted his teeth. With two guys coming, the difficulty immediately increased by more than one level. "It's me." Shiba jumped off the giant onyx, threw the Pokeball, and released a strong monster. Sasaki's face was grim. With both Omu and Shiba, the difficulty of successfully capturing Mewtwo increased again. But it was not easy to injure Mewtwo, even at the cost of offending the Kyojin family and the Sasaki family. If you give up like this, there will be no such good opportunity next time. Now Omu's Dragonite is injured, and only Shiba is left. Sasaki narrowed his eyes and said coldly, "Do it. Continue to fight. Bangala, destroy the death beam." Apollo responded immediately, and a beam of destructive power burst out from Bangala's mouth. Then, the rest of the rocket team members also took action immediately. They attacked Mewtwo and his group. Dragonite, Tornado, Strength, Kai-Bomb. Professor Oak and Shiba issued attack orders at the same time. Professor Oak's Dragonite roared, and a fierce hurricane suddenly blew up, wreaking havoc everywhere, resisting the destruction of the death ray head-on. Shiba's strength condensed to Kai-Bombs with 4 arms, and attacked the rocket team's machinery. Beedrill, destroy the death ray. Sasaki's face was grim, and at the same time, various attack weapons flew out, and the power exploded. Even with the fresh forces of Dragonite and Strange, they were still suppressed. After all, Oak came in a hurry this time, and didn't have time to bring too many Pokémon, and Shiba himself was training in the mountains, wanting to subdue the giant Onyx, so he didn't bring any other Pokémon except Strange. Yu, this is your Dragonite. Take Mewtwo with you first. Professor Oak released Yu's Dragonite. Okay. Yu stretched out his hand to carry Mewtwo, without saying much, and sat on the Dragonite directly, and flew away quickly. Staying here now won't help much. We need to find reinforcement. Either let the family come, or trouble Giratina again. Don't even think about leaving. Sasaki led his men, and tried to stop them. Tornado. But before they could chase them out, they were stopped by Dragonite's Tornado. Sasaki was furious. Dragonite was the fastest, and could fly the entire planet in 16 hours. If they didn't catch it, it would be enough for them to return to Kyojin's house. Nothing would make sense then. You stop Oak and Shiba. Sasaki asked a group of people to stay, and he drove a small fighter, leaving a shadow in the air, and quickly chased after Yu. This fighter was the fastest fighter developed by the rocket team. It had a small interior space, and could only seat one person. It was originally used for escape, but now it had to be temporarily changed to a pursuit fighter. The speed of that Dragonite would not be faster than this fighter, and its strength would not exceed that of a Qua-seeking. Mewtwo had almost lost its combat effectiveness. As long as he caught up, Mewtwo would be his. Riding on Dragonite, Yu felt the pursuit from behind. He caught a glimpse of Sasaki, who was tracking him from the corner of his eye, and there was a hint of murderous intent in his eyes. I don't know if it's because of bad luck. He had been smooth sailing in the past 10 years, but this year he has experienced life and death 3 times. The first time he was hunted down by the star of the Galaxy team and almost died. The second time was not long ago, when he was almost killed by Mewtwo. This is the third time. And he has always believed in the principle of revenge. Now, the Galaxy team has been destroyed, and Mewtwo has temporarily reconciled with him. As for Team Rocket, if they don't seize the opportunity to solve it, there will be endless trouble. Originally, Yu planned to plan slowly after today, but he underestimated Sakaki's obsession with Mewtwo, and he actually chased him alone. In this case, don't blame him. Dragonite, get in the water, Yu said. Dragonite quickly lowered its head, and with a huge splash, it forcefully rushed into a huge lake, entering the water, trying to use water to block my sight. Good idea, worthy of being cultivated by the Kyojin family, but unfortunately my rocket team's fighter plane can be used on land, sea and air. Sasaki sneered. Dragonite is a very rare Pokémon that can survive freely on land, sea and air. Although it does not have water attributes, it can live freely underwater, and even live more freely underwater than most water Pokémon. If someone else were to track it, it would probably lose the target. But in front of the rocket team's technology, it is not worth mentioning. Press a button, the fighter plane will directly transform into a submarine, and then rush into the water. Yu noticed that Sasaki really followed behind him, and the corners of his mouth curled up. The water surface changed rapidly, and the door to the reverse world opened directly. Sakaki's face suddenly changed. Although he didn't know what this door meant, it was obviously not a good thing. He immediately operated the fighter plane to stop. But things like fighter planes are running at high speed. How can they stop just because they want to? No matter how Sasaki struggled, it was useless, and he plunged into the reverse world. Looking at the new reversed world, which is completely opposite to the real world, Sasaki was bewildered. What is this place? Where is Mewtwo? Yu, who was underwater, saw this scene, and showed a happy expression on his face. He succeeded. If Sasaki goes in, he won't have to come out alive. He shot Dragonite, and asked everyone to come out again without entering the reversed world. Let Sasaki stay in there by himself first. In the reversed world, there are no other creatures except Giratina. The doctor who had studied in the reversed world before was also thrown out by Yu. So there is no food in it at all. If Sasaki goes in, he will only starve to death. The pursuit was so fierce, and the petty-minded Yu naturally wanted him to die as painfully as possible. It is very interesting to think that the Overlord of Kanto actually starved to death in the end. Chapter 87 Post-Event Processing. Sasaki, dead. Together with Professor Oak, with the support of the reinforcement Yu invited, Hiba successfully dealt with the remaining rocket team, and looked at Yu in shock. Sasaki, dead. Are you kidding? In terms of power, he is the leader of the largest underground organization in Kanto. In terms of strength, although they have never fought, Hiba can be sure that Sasaki is no worse than him. How many people in the alliance wanted him dead, but failed, and were killed by him instead? As a result, he died in the hands of a 10-year-old child? You didn't lie to me. He's not dead yet, but he will die in a few days. He is in my hands, and will die happily in a few days, Yu said with a smile. So, you not only won, but also captured Sasaki. Hiba's eyes widened. Caught alive. This is more terrifying than you killing him directly. How did you do it? That's right, envy. What you four kings haven't done in so many years. I did it, Yu said. Stinky boy, pay attention to your attitude when you speak. Is this the attitude you talk to your elders? Hiba stared at Yu. Is this how you talk to your elder brother? Yu glared at Hiba. You little brat. In terms of position, your aunt and I are on the same level. Both are the 4 heavenly kings. In terms of seniority, your father and I grew up together, and you are ashamed to call me elder brother. Hiba said with a fierce face. Who is embarrassed? When I was 3 years old, who bet with me that, if I could recite the attribute restraint table, and tell you 10 fighting attribute Pokémon that you didn't know, he would recognize me as his elder brother. The words of the 4 heavenly kings don't count. You looked at each other without showing any weakness. When mentioning that matter, Ziba's old face couldn't help but blush. He looked around and found that no one was paying attention, so he breathed a sigh of relief. Who would have thought that a 3-year-old child really knew 10 fighting Pokémon that he didn't know? This kid is a goblin. Gritting his teeth, he said, "Little kid, is this your attitude towards your lifesaver? Don't take credit for anything. Grandpa Damu is the main one, and you are a secondary one." Yu said. "Isn't it that Onyx moves slower? Besides, without me, a single Onyx won't work." Ziba said. "That's secondary. Besides, speaking of this, I haven't said it yet. How do you evolve a Onyx that big?" Yu said. "There are 2 main ways for Onyx to evolve into Steelix. The first is natural evolution. Go deep into the earth, constantly absorb underground steel, and then use the deep pressure of the earth to continuously compress the body and forge a body harder than diamond. But this takes a long time. The second is the metal membrane invented by humans. This tool can be used to let Onyx evolve into Steelix naturally. Generally speaking, trainers choose the second one, which has the same evolution effect, but is several times faster. But Ziba's Onyx is 10 times the size of a normal Onyx. It is extremely difficult to get a suitable metal membrane, and it may not be possible, even if you have money, natural training, then adding metal film. As one of the 4 heavenly kings, I have the right to obtain resources from the Alliance every year. As for how to make it is the business of the Alliance's research department, not something I have to worry about." Ziba said very bluntly. "You are shameless." Yu said. "As senior cadres of the Alliance, the 4 heavenly kings have the privilege to obtain resources from the Alliance." Ziba told the Alliance that this year he would get the props for his Steelix evolution. The Alliance would definitely be overjoyed and feel relieved. Then, if they really saw it, they would probably kill Ziba one by one. Sure enough, those with thick eyebrows and big eyes are all bad. Your Kyojin family has no right to say this. Ziba said. The old one is insidious, the big one is insidious, and the young one is even more insidious. Do I owe your family? I will tell my aunt what you said. You said. Ziba's expression trembled. The relationship between him and Kiku is similar to that between Watari and Kona. Relying on the immunity of the ghost system to the fighting system, he beats Ziba in various ways every year. But the situation is a little different. Before meeting Kona, Watari was invincible. After meeting Kona, he was defeated in battle after battle, and he was always unbalanced. And Hiba, who had been beaten by Kiku since he had Pokémon, had been beaten since he was a child, and he was almost psychologically traumatized. Don't change the subject, let's talk about Sasaki. You caught him, what are you going to do next? You have no right to punish a citizen privately. Sasaki is still a gym trainer on the surface. You should hand him over to the Alliance. Hiba said. Hand him over to the Alliance? Will Sasaki die? You looked at Hiba and said, will those people watch Sasaki die? Aren't they afraid that Sasaki will say something he shouldn't say? Do you know something? Hiba looked at you and said. Just found out. So, I have to control him. You said. Then you can hand him over to President Damalanchi. He is the most fair representative. Handing Sasaki over to him can better solve the situation. Hiba said. But it may also be more chaotic. In a word, Sasaki must die. Only when he dies, I will feel at ease. You said. Sasaki is involved in many interests. For such a person, there must be many people who want him dead, but there are also many people who want him alive. If he is handed over and there is something in exchange, he may be able to live. And as long as such a person can live, he may do what happened today again. So he must be controlled and killed. But don't let anyone know that he died in your hands. Dr. Oak came over and said, what if it is known? The remaining group of people in Team Rocket dare to retaliate. I'm just thinking of killing someone to establish my authority. You said, I have killed your boss, and you still dare? You are a 10-year-old kid. What authority are you trying to establish? And as long as you say that you caught him, it will be fine. But the last person Sasaki saw cannot be you. Otherwise, many people will feel uneasy. Dr. Oak said. Yu's heart moved. He was not really a 10-year-old child. Naturally, he thought of some things. Some of the information in Sasaki's hands could kill people, and if he finally solved it, some people might guess that he got this information. At that time, he would really be at the cusp of the storm. What would be appropriate? Yu asked. It is better to avoid such things if they can be avoided. Didn't Shiva say that too? Damalanchi. Dr. Oak said. But these politicians are all calculating. I think once Sasaki leaves me, he will not die. And I must make him die. Yu insisted. Then you can always control Sasaki's life and death, and let Damalanchi go to the reversed world, right? Dr. Oak smiled. Will he agree? Yu said. Why doesn't he agree? Is he worried that you will kill him? You are not a fool, and he is not a fool either. Besides, he will believe me with me here. Dr. Oak said. Then leave it all to Grandpa Oak. Yu said. No problem. You call me Grandpa. Of course I have to help you. The future of this world depends on your generation. Dr. Oak said. Yu smiled, but did not answer. This topic is a bit heavy, I can't bear it. Okay, practice well. It's not long before the Pokémon Quartz Conference. If you can't win the championship, it will be sorry for my training. Dr. Oak said. Yes. How is the Pokémon training going now? How about I give you a special training? Ziba looked at Yu and said. Of course, isn't this your duty as a younger brother? Yu said. You little bastard. Ziba cursed, grabbed Yu with one hand, and walked out like a hen. Oki smiled kindly, and called President Damalanchi. On the quartz plateau, Damalanchi answered Oki's call, and then suddenly, he jumped 3 feet high. Sasaki was caught. Alive. Without saying a word, he jumped off the chair, got on the plane, and flew straight to Pallet Town. Team Rocket, this broken thing, should have been destroyed long ago. Chapter 88. Quartz Conference opens. The flame of Moltres is now in your hands. Pass it to the Quartz Plateau. In Pallet Town, President Damalanchi solemnly handed the torch to Yu. Before the Quartz Conference is held, an opening ceremony is required. Just like the Olympics, the Olympic torch is passed. However, the fire is different. Kanto is Moltres' fire. Johto is the fire of the great photographer Ho-Oh. Relay all the way and run over. Yu was not originally the one to be transported, but because Damalanchi came, he simply decided that Yu would be the first. Yu did not refuse, it was a matter of honor. Holding the torch, running along the set route, then switching halfway. Lily, Xiaoxu, Xiaozi. Lily and Xiaoxu were calm throughout the whole process, until Xiaozi became the messenger of the holy fire and ran. The ground suddenly collapsed, and a huge deep pit suddenly emerged. Except for Xiaozi, the entire truck following behind fell down. Xiaozi, help. Xiaoxu shouted to Xiaozi. Xiaozi held the torch and looked at the pit that suddenly appeared with a puzzled look, saying, what's going on? Don't ask. Yu said in the pit. After falling into the pit so many times, don't you have any idea of Ak in your heart? Who else could it be except them? Give them a chance to say the opening remarks. What for? Sure enough, Xiaozi just finished speaking, and a meow meow hot air balloon floated in the sky from afar, and then the familiar opening remarks sounded. Since you asked sincerely. That's it, meow. Exhaling a breath, the ghost power surged, and everyone was taken out of the pit, and then looked at the 3 people on the meow meow balloon and said, what are you 3 doing here again? The rocket team has been destroyed, and you still want to be the rocket team? Here we have to say that the alliance is terrifying. 3 weeks after Sasaki died, the rocket team in the Kanto region was uprooted. One by one, the families were more active than the other, and even sent out their own families' bottom boxes, for fear that Interpol and Junsha would discover something that should not be discovered. One by one, it was really fierce. Team Rocket was destroyed? Kajiro looked at Yu in disbelief. Yes, it was destroyed. Sasaki wanted to fight me, and I fought him back. Now he's cremated. Don't you guys pay attention to the news? Or contact the headquarters? Yu said. Is that true? Musashi looked puzzled. Kajiro, didn't you contact the headquarters? No, we haven't gained anything in the past 3 months. How can we contact the boss? Will we be scolded by the boss? And we blow up the Tokiwa gym? What if the boss asks us to pay? We can't afford it. Kajiro whispered. That's right. Wait, now that Team Rocket is gone, do we not have to pay back the money? Musashi said. It seems so. Kajiro's eyes lit up. Yu Yu's eyebrows jumped. It was really not easy for Sasaki to support these three guys. The huge Pokémon park that he worked so hard to build has not even opened yet, but it was completely destroyed by the three of them and Zyos' trio. The gym that he worked so hard to run was blown up by the three of them. No wonder he didn't pay his salary later. But Team Rocket is gone. What should we do? Meow. Meow said. It doesn't matter. Team Rocket is destroyed. Then we will establish our new organization. We will be the new Team Rocket in the future. Establish a new, most powerful and evil new organization. Musashi said. Yes, that's also possible. Kajiro and Meow were both excited. Yu Yu touched his forehead in pain. The three of you guys, your loyalty to the organization is really a big problem. Originally, I was curious what would happen to you three if Team Rocket was gone, and whether Zyos' life would change a lot in the future. Now I think it won't. Speaking of which, Team Rocket didn't help them at all. When they arrived in the Johto region, they fired them, didn't pay them wages, and became creditors instead. All the funds of Musashi and the other two were earned by their own part-time jobs, and had nothing to do with Team Rocket. Instead, they took away their Pokémon in the Unova region, which once put them in an embarrassing predicament of having no Pokémon to use. Now that the creditor is dead, they may be able to live more freely. So, we have to grab the flame of the legendary Pokémon Moltres and sell it to Pokémon fans. We can definitely sell it at the legendary price. Musashi said. You have ideas and drive, which is worthy of encouragement, but it's just worthy. Dragonite super speed. Yu Yu threw the Pokeball, and Dragonite flew out, turning into a shadow, breaking the hot air balloon, and then the three of them ascended to the sky together. Okay, continue. Yu Yu asked Dragonite to bring the truck up, then sat on it, and waited for it to start. Zyos nodded and continued to run. He had experienced too many such things. Are all children nowadays so mature? So calm in the face of danger? President Damalanki was surprised. Zyos is special. Besides, those three are just for fun and livening up the atmosphere. The president doesn't need to care. Yu Yu said. President Damalanki smiled and said, forget it. If you say so, then let's just take it as it is. To be honest, he admired the three people just now. In front of him, they said they wanted to form a new rocket team, the largest evil organization. What a courage. They walked forward and soon arrived at the venue of the Quartz Conference. Yu Yu also separated from Zyos and the other two, and went to the school area, to meet with Zeduo Cheng. After all, he was admitted specially. Yu Yu, our school is relying on you now. Try to win the championship. Zeduo Cheng looked at Yu Yu and exhorted. Don't worry, the championship must be mine. Yu Yu said casually. He was really confident this time. Haunter and Dragonite are both Quasi-Kings. Raichu is the Quasi-King gatekeeper. Absol is also about to reach Quasi-King. And finally Flame Horse and Squirtle are both elites. This Linoop can still lose, unless there is a mythical beast man or a king. The only thing that is a little bad is that Yu Yu doesn't know the Linoop of the champion of this Quartz Conference. If it is Hone, Sinnoh, Unova, and Kalos, Yu Yu can know it. But Kanto and Johto, because Zyos is too weak, the strength of the champion cannot be shown. The Johto competition is just one picture and one name. Kanto is even more cruel. The top three are in the shadows throughout the whole process, and their names are unknown. Not to mention Pokémon. But it doesn't matter. Yu Yu can only fight 6 Pokémon anyway, and it is impossible to adjust the Linoop and target them. Zeduo Cheng nodded. Now he can only trust Yu Yu. The rest of the school is definitely useless. Yu Yu took a bath in the players' village and had fun with the Pokémon. It was the best to relax for the last time. It's the last day. Adjusting your mentality is more important than training. The normal process of the Quartz Conference is to have an opening ceremony first. Then, the venue draw will be conducted. The 4 venues of Grass Field, Ice Field, Water Field, and Rock Field will take turns to have 3-on-3 battles. Then go to the main venue of the Quartz Conference for the final 3-on-3. After that, the quarterfinals, semifinals, and finals will use 6 Pokémon. But these are things for the future, and it's better to go to sleep now. Until In the middle of the night, a land shark soared into the sky, and a terrifying cry was heard. Help. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 89 Goodbye Zerona. In the Quartz Games player village, countless players were sleeping at the moment, but they were all startled by the scream. They all looked up and looked out the window. A haunter was running away like a ghost, and behind it, a mighty Garchomp was chasing closely. A group of players were full of curiosity. These two Pokémon were both extraordinary. Is this their future opponent? Before they knew the reason, a light blue energy bomb suddenly appeared in the sky, went straight through the haunter, and violently hit the Garchomp that was chasing closely behind, knocking the Garchomp down from the sky and hitting it heavily on the ground. A pink humanoid Pokémon appeared out of thin air holding a book and stood next to the haunter. Why was it hit? Mewtwo looked at the ghastly channel. He was reading a book on the roof and he saw the haunter being chased. If it was before, it would be fine, but after the battle with Team Rocket, they were also friends of life and death. So, a wave missile was sent out casually. The ghost state of haunter was immune to fighting attribute moves, and Garchomp could not escape. It bullied me. Oh, Haunter looked at Mewtwo with tears in his eyes. Bullying you? Mewtwo's three fingers changed, and terrifying superpowers surged. Fierce knockdown Garchomp looked at Mewtwo in the sky, showing an angry expression, with two arms open, revealing a fierce and terrifying aura. It has been a long time since it was knocked down like this. Gargoyle. A blonde beauty in black clothes ran out of the darkness, looking at Garchomp's state. Her brows suddenly frowned, and then looked at Mewtwo in the sky, with a hint of fighting spirit in her eyes. Her intuition told her that this Pokémon is very strong. What kind of Pokémon are you? Sharona looked at Mewtwo and said she had been through hundreds of battles and had basically seen Pokémon from all over the world, especially the powerful Pokémon, and she had basically understood them, but she had never heard of this Pokémon. It's called Mewtwo, a very powerful Pokémon, my friend. Mewtwo had a cold face and disdained to answer, but Haunter actively explained. Mewtwo looked at Haunter and had a hunch that there was something wrong with this guy. Talking Haunter, you use Haunter. Sharona said. This was the only talking Haunter she had ever seen. That's right. A lazy male voice sounded. You came out in pajamas and glared at Haunter with resentment. Fuck you. Can't you just let me sleep well? Don't you know, after I wake up, it's hard for me to fall asleep? What did you do again? You looked at Haunter. Something happened in the middle of the night. No doubt it was Haunter's fault. Eevee. Before Haunter could answer, a cute cry sounded, and an Eevee with smooth brown hair jumped down from the upstairs and trotted all the way. Haunter immediately transformed into an Eevee, then rolled on the ground and played with Sharona's Eevee. Seeing this scene, many things became clear. Yu touched his forehead helplessly. Oh my god, can I change a Pokémon? Mewtwo also understood and regretted his move. His figure disappeared and went to another place to read. Let's find a place to talk again, Yu said. The commotion of Garchomp, Haunter, and Mewtwo just now attracted a lot of attention. If they don't leave now, maybe the organizing committee will come in a while. Sharona nodded and changed the place to talk with Yu. Why are you here? Yu asked. You were born and raised in SYNOPSIS and you didn't participate in the league conference. What are you doing in Kanto? Lead a team to participate in the Pokémon conference. The students of Zingaio Pokémon School graduated and wanted to practice. Then Kanto was preparing to hold the league conference. It just so happened that your Kanto Yaoto Pokémon School didn't have enough graduates this year, so I led the team to participate. Sharona said. Oh. Yu nodded. Aren't you short of people? The guys who had good grades and were supposed to graduate were all kicked out by themselves. Also, Nero knows you're going to participate and he vowed to beat you, so you better be careful. Sharona said. If he wants to fail again, I'll let him feel it again. It's the same anyway. Yu said. You're so confident. It seems that your strength has improved a lot after we separated. Sharona said. Average, but it shouldn't be a problem to win the championship. Yu said. You're really not modest. By the way, is that Pokémon your Pokémon just now? Sharona asked. No, it's my friend. Yu said. Does that mean it doesn't have a trainer? Sharona's eyes lit up. Sister, take it easy. I don't want to collect your body for you. Yu said. Although you should have the strength of a champion now. But if you fight Mewtwo head on, I'm afraid you'll be killed by it before you can conquer it. Isn't it better to be alive? Sharona turned her head and looked at Yu. At this moment, she actually saw the same look she usually gave Nero in Yu's eyes. You naughty child, why are you dying? This kind of gaze was not the first time that Sharona had felt it. Her grandmother and others often did the same, questioning her, but she always slapped them in the face in the end. But this was the first time that she was looked at in this way by someone who was not even as old as her. She said with a smile, I don't know if I will be beaten to death, but believe it or not, I will beat you to death first and collect your body. What about your haunter coming to find my EV? This? Yu looked embarrassed. His own pig wanted to go to someone else's cabbage and was caught in the act. The other party's parents also came to find him. This was really embarrassing. I will try my best to restrain him in the future. Are you sure you can restrain him? If it happens a third time, I will not care about car comp. Sharona said. Try hard. But if your Eevee is willing, I think they can still be good friends. Yu said. Your haunter is exactly the same as you, a little kid, but a smart kid. We are just friends. Do you believe this? Sharona said. Yu lowered his head. He did not believe it. You're in Kanto, I'm in Sinnoh, and Pokémon are not usually seen. Long distance relationships between humans don't end well, let alone Pokémon. Not to mention, they're both different species and can't reproduce. Sharona said. I tried my best, but it's not for reproduction, which means it could be true love. Yu said. True love? Sharona glanced at Yu. Why do I feel that your position is not firm? Because it's my pigs who are pushing. It's not bad if it succeeds. Yu said. What about the two branches? Sharona said. Then why don't we have a relationship too? That way everything will be solved. Yu said. Sharona looked at Yu, who was shorter than her, and smiled and flicked his head and said, you're a little brat. You don't even reach the legal age of marriage, but you want to have a relationship, or do Pokémon really like their owners? You want to have a relationship with me? Okay, beat me. Be stronger than me, and everything you say is right. The legal age of marriage has nothing to do with having a relationship. Yu muttered. Prepare for tomorrow's game first, otherwise you won't even have a chance to fight me. Sharona said. Then let time take its course. Yu smiled and separated from Sharona. Chapter 90. The first alliance battle. The third match of the ice arena is now underway. The two players entering the arena are Zengai, from Shulanol, on the red team, and Yao, from Changpan City, on the green team. Zengai is a trainer known for his strength, and seeks to defeat everything with strength. Yao is a top student who graduated from the Uto Pokémon School, and is a famous genius trainer. The league conference was packed. The audience was in high spirits. The commentator explained hard, trying to mobilize the emotions of the audience and the audience in front of the TV. Every year, a large amount of funds are required to hold the league conference, but every year the league holds the conference, it makes a lot of money, relying on the audience. Two teenagers walked out of the two side passages at the same time, and stepped onto the competition command platform. Randomly determine the first attacker. Successful judgment, Zengai, from the red team, sends out the Pokémon first. Come out, ironclad. Zengai threw the Pokéball, and a huge shell Pokémon appeared in the field. The shell was hard, and there was only a black ball in the middle. Yu looked at the body in the middle of the Metagross, and couldn't help but feel nostalgic. The body inside the Metagross shell was exactly the same as Ghastly. So it's no wonder that in the past life, the internet said that when Metagross broke out of its shell, Ghastly came out. It was really like copy and paste. Pyro, make a shining debut. Yu threw the Pokéball, and the majestic Pyro appeared on the ice field, with its flaming mane dancing in the wind, exuding a fiery breath. Contestant Zengai released Metagross with water and ice attributes, but contestant Yu unexpectedly released a Pokémon with fire attributes. Was it just to deal with the opponent's ice attribute? but this is the ice field after all. Let's look forward to contestant Yu's performance. The commentator explained aloud. Although this information is common sense for trainers, it may not be for the audience present and the children in front of the TV. Metagrow, water gun. Zengai took the initiative and gave a decisive order. Metagross's shell opened wide and a thick stream of water sprayed out from the spikes on its head. Charge flame attack. Flamahorse's hooves were flying, its flaming mane was shaking, and its whole body was emitting blazing flames. It calmly dodged the water gun sprayed by Cherubim, and then violently slammed into Cherubim with great momentum. Crewbim, shrink your shell, the trainer hurriedly said. Cherubim quickly slammed its shell shut, wrapping its body tightly. Flamahorse's charge flame attack slammed into it, but it had no effect. Flamahorse's speed is really amazing, worthy of being a Pokémon with a speed of 240 km per hour, but Cherubim's defense should not be underestimated. Once Cherubim is closed, no external force can force it open. This is Cherubim's most proud defense, and it can withstand the attack of more than a dozen gasoline bombs. What should contestant Yu do? Can he break it? There is no way. Cherubim's defense is unparalleled in the world, and Flamahorse can't break it at all. Zengai looked at Yu proudly and said, "Really?" Yu showed an undeniable smile. Flamahorse, sunny day. Flamahorse neighed, and the originally clear sky was even more sunny. Water gun. Zengai ordered again. The shell of the armor shell opened, and suddenly a thick column of water spurted out. Flamahorse, jump, spray flames. Flamahorse jumped up, avoiding the water gun of the armor shell, and the hot flames sprayed at the body in the armor shell. Iron armor, shrink again quickly. Zengai shouted. The armor shell immediately shrank again. It seems that you have exposed your weaknesses without me breaking it. Yu looked at Zengai. Facing a Pokémon like Armored Shell, he was quite relaxed. Although Armored Shell has strong defense and strong attack ability, its speed is really a flaw. Other Pokémon are slow at most, but Armored Shell is not slow, but it can't move at all. Therefore, many Shelders choose not to evolve before evolving, but cooperate with Slowpoke to evolve into Slow Hippo or Hippoking. At least you can walk around. And being unable to move also limits a lot of cool operations. Then you break my defense first. Ironclad shell, iron wall. Zengai shouted. The light on the shell of the ironclad shell flickered, and the defense was constantly enhanced. Will it be okay to hide in it? Flamahorse, flame vortex. Yu said. Flamahorse opened its mouth wide, and a blazing flame storm swept across. The terrifying and hot high temperature burst out and absorbed the entire ironclad shell. After the flame, the ironclad shell opened and fell into a coma. Shells can block physical attacks, but they cannot withstand the continuously rising high temperatures. If they could, humans would not be able to cook and make soup. Ironclad shell, come back. Zengai took back the ironclad shell. Why don't you put it in ice water? That might be better. Yu looked at Zengai. Stop talking big. Beat my Pokémon first. White sea lion. Zengai threw the Pokéball, and a sea lion with a pure white body appeared on the field. Yuyu's flame horse is really powerful. It easily defeated the ironclad shell by using the high temperature. Zengi released another white sea lion. Like ironclad shell, it is a dual attribute Pokémon of water and ice. Moreover, the colder the white sea lion is, the stronger it is. It can even swim at a speed of 8 knots underwater. Yu, how should we deal with this Pokémon? The commentator explained from the high platform. Flame horse, flame whirlpool. Yu said. Flame horse accumulated in its mouth and ejected a huge firestorm, raging on the ice field, attacking the white sea lion all the way. Large pieces of ice melted along the way. White sea lion, get in the water. Zengi's order was issued in time. The white sea lion calmly jumped into the water, avoiding the attack of Flame Horse, and approached Flame Horse underwater. Zengai's white sea lion reacted quickly and quickly dived underwater to avoid the attack of Liao's fiery horse. After successfully entering the water, the fiery horse could no longer attack the underwater white sea lion. The fiery horse fell into a completely passive state. What should we do? Fiery horse, use the stored energy flame attack in succession. Liao said. The fiery horse burst into flames all over its body and quickly ran on the field, and the flames continued to burst. The fiery horse used the stored energy flame attack in succession, which greatly increased its speed. The underwater white sea lion couldn't keep up. Is this the strategy adopted by Yao? The commentator explained. Stupid, the fiery horses running like this will only consume the fiery horse's own physical strength. The white sea lion only needs to wait like this, and wait for the opportunity to tire out. At that time, it will be defeated. Anyone with a little bit of brains should have taken back the fiery horse at this time. In the audience, Nero said with disdain. Wait for the opportunity to tire out. Nero, you think too simply. Pay attention to the ice around you. Sharona shook her head. Ice all around. That's right. Blaze Horse is a fire Pokémon. Its flames melt the ice all around. If this goes on, it won't be long before the surroundings turn into water. Blaze Horse has no place to stand. White Sea Lion will definitely win. Nero said. Sharona looked at Nero and shook her head silently. You thought about changing Pokémon, but didn't you think about what it would be like if you changed to an electric Pokémon and then in this water-filled venue? Nero didn't expect it. In the arena, Zengai didn't expect it either. Looking at the gradually melting ice venue all around, he said with joy, White Sea Lion, use Horn Slam. As he spoke, he looked at Yu with a proud look. What else can you do? Can you run again? The ice all around is melting. How can you run? Blade Horse, come back. Yu took out the Pokeball and took back Blaze Horse. He couldn't hide, so he didn't hide at all and went straight out. At the critical moment, contestant Yu changed his Pokémon. So what is his next Pokémon? Is it also a water type? Raichu, make your debut. 100,000 volts. Yu threw the Pokeball. Thunder Raichu stood on a huge block of ice that Yu had left behind on purpose, releasing a powerful and terrifying electric current from his body. The lightning raged, sweeping across the entire venue in an instant, destroying the world. Almost instantly, the White Sea Lion floated up with round eyes. There is another Pokémon. Whatever it is, send it out. Don't send it out. Don't send it out. It's better to send it out from the flying type, so that it can fly. Yu looked at Zengai with a smile. Zengai's face twitched. The Pokémon used by contestants in the Pokémon competition cannot be changed at will. They must be registered before the game. So his 3 are confirmed. And his third one is Gyarados. Chapter 91, Match Fixing, Boom. With a loud bang, the sky was full of dazzling lightning, and Gyarados fell into the pool with convulsions, and lightning flashed from time to time. Unsurprisingly, Gyarados was beaten to tears. Water plus flying was restrained by the electric type trick 4 times, and it had the flying attribute, but couldn't really fly. With half of its body in the water, Raichu struck a thunder, and experienced the pleasure of ascending to heaven on the spot. The game is over. Yu won. He only used 2 Pokémon, and didn't lose any of them. The commentator explained excitedly, and a group of reporters quickly gathered around, asking questions. In the preliminary round, it is rare to see a player who can use only 2 Pokémon without losing any Pokémon, especially when the opponent is not weak. There are things like gambling in any large-scale competition. Yu's opponent Zengai is also a favorite to win. Do you understand now? In the audience, Sharona looked at her cousin and said, it's just a fluke. The power of Pokémon is the key. Nero said stubbornly. Sharona shook her head slightly, without saying much, but thinking about the bet she had made with Yu before. She found a bad fact from watching these games today. This year's Quartz conference seemed a bit watery. If Yu performs well, he might really win the championship. And the talking Haunter, who has not been seen for a while, is very strong. That day, Garchomp was serious. There are not many Pokémon that can escape when Garchomp is serious. After dealing with the interviews with reporters, Yu joined Xiaoxu and Lilia and walked towards Xiao's competition venue. Xiaomeo's game has been played. 3 against 3, easy to advance without pressure. As soon as she walked over, Yu heard Xiao's roar. Giant Claw Crab used Destruction Death Beam. Then she saw a red crab jumping up on the water field, and the huge claws fired an orange-yellow Destruction Death Beam, hitting Zubat, who was hit hard and fell heavily. Is Xiao's Crawlka so powerful? Doesn't he only have 5 commonly used Pokémon? Pikachu, Bulbasaur, Squirtle, Pidgeot, and Charizard? Quintero, Kralka, and Muddy are 3 backup Pokémon that are almost untrained and not very dangerous. The strongest Charizard is disobedient and is a very small threat, Lily said in surprise. Although she can't touch Pokémon yet, she has rich theoretical knowledge and meticulous logical thinking, so she collects intelligence for Yu and is considered to be Yu's half agent. Among them, Sasaki analyzed it carefully because he is familiar with it. After data analysis, there is almost no threat. Sasaki has not studied theory, and his battles are all based on wildness and intuition. To put it simply, it is reckless. This way of fighting will not go far, but it is also the most variable. Moreover, his Pokémon may not be strong, but each one has a very unique personality, which increases many possibilities. After all, the actual battle is not the trainer, but the Pokémon. Yu smiled. It's just luck. And it's only temporary. The Pokémon League is not so easy that he can win all the way by luck. Ziomeo's voice sounded at the side. Yu looked over and smiled inexplicably. Why, are you worried about Sasaki? So you came to see him? Who would worry about him? It's just that he and I, the 4th place, entered Pallet Town. We can't let him lose too quickly, Ziomeo said. Really? Yu looked at the stubborn Ziomeo and couldn't help shaking his head. From childhood to adulthood, he didn't have many friends. Strictly speaking, there are only 2, Ziomeo and Sasaki. Now there are Lily and Xiaoxu. Ziomeo is the same as him. Apart from his girlfriend, he and Sasaki are the only 2 friends. So, what are you pretending for? Of course, you just wait and see. I will win the championship of this game. Then I will defeat you. My windy dog is much stronger now than before, and it will definitely defeat your H.U. Ziomeo looked at Yu with high morale. I look forward to it. But my Raichu is only ranked 3rd in the team, Yu said with a smile. Ziomeo's face suddenly darkened, and he stared at Yu with murderous eyes. With the 3rd one, he slaughtered my entire team. Looking at Ziomeo's expression, Yu's mouth curled up slightly, and his inner satisfaction was even happier than winning the first game just now. He and Ziomeo are of similar age, family background, and personality in some aspects. Ziomeo likes to poke Zhi's heart and show off in front of Zhi. If he succeeds, but doesn't show off in front of Zhi, he feels that his life has lost a lot of meaning. And Yu also likes to show off in front of Ziomeo and poke Ziomeo's heart. If Zhi's heart-piercing skills were not enough, they could almost form a closed loop. Looking at Yu's smug expression, Ziomeo clenched his fists. If he didn't know that he couldn't beat him, he really wanted to beat him. Let's go, let's have dinner together. Yu patted Ziomeo's shoulder. Go away, don't. Ziomeo ruthlessly slapped Yu's hand away. I'm with my girlfriend. Girlfriend? Yu's expression froze slightly. Ziomeo was keenly aware of Yu's change and suddenly reached out and hugged Yu's shoulders and said, I have a girlfriend. What did you say? Yu raised his eyebrows. 6. Ziomeo added with a smile. Yu felt a pain in his heart and looked at Ziomeo with murderous eyes. Ziomeo raised the corners of his mouth, hugged Yu's shoulders and said, let's go and have dinner together. His mood suddenly improved. Comfortable. I have a girlfriend, and 6 of them. Do you have one? After having a lunch with Ziomeo that was not sure whether it was pleasant or unpleasant, Yu exhaled a foul breath and said, Lilia, can you deduce when I will fight Ziomeo? No, the game of the Kanto conference is completely random. Lilia said. Then wait, it's best to be the quarterfinals, 6-6. Yu gritted his teeth. Lilia and Ziozu looked at Yu as if they saw something called the fire of fighting spirit in him, and at the same time, a thought came to their minds. Does Yu want to fall in love? Time passed, and Yu continued to fight, winning battle after battle. In the water field, Raichu's 100,000 volts were everywhere, defeating 3 in 1. In the grass field, Haunter's hypnosis plus nightmare slept 3 in 1. Easily, he made it to the 4th round, which is the top 32 in the general sense. Yu took the Pokeball and prepared to go on stage, but a middle-aged uncle suddenly appeared in front of him stealthily. Young man, do you really want to fight that battle that you are sure to lose? The middle-aged uncle looked at Yu mysteriously and said, "A battle that you are sure to lose?" Yu looked at the middle-aged uncle who suddenly appeared. His opponent this time was a guy named Taejun. Hearing this name, Yu wanted to fight him. He is good at Pokémon with psychic attributes, but his fighting level is average, and he always wins with difficulty. That's right, the opponent you are going to face this time is a prodigy that the superpower village has not seen for 10 years. His Pokémon is very strong. This time his performance in the battle is average, just because he wants others to underestimate his strength. The middle-aged uncle said. "Oh." Yu nodded, and then he was about to pass through him and enter the arena. "Wait, young man, you are destined to lose this battle, so why bother to fight so seriously? Why not cooperate with me and earn hundreds of thousands?" The middle-aged uncle stopped Yu again. "Hundreds of thousands?" Yu raised his eyebrows. "That's right. Now in the gambling outside, almost all people bet on you to win, 1.2 to 1, and bet on Taejun to win, 1 to 3. As long as you cooperate and let Taejun retain his strength, we will give you 200,000. How about it? It's a good deal." The middle-aged uncle said. "Oh, manipulate the gambling game and play a fake game." Yu suddenly realized that, as expected, there are money transactions and fake games in any competition. "That's right, young man, we have also investigated. You are from Pallet Town and neighbors with a guy named Xiaozi. The income in that place is not much, 200,000, just for one game. It's not a small amount. And you really can't beat our Taejun. Our Taejun just wants to retain his strength." The middle-aged uncle said with a smile on his face. "If you can turn that 10 into 1,000, I might agree, but do you want this price?" Yu smiled and shook his head, passing through the middle-aged uncle and said, "Next time before you fake a match, collect the information first. My last name is Kaojin." Chapter 92. The Powerful Absol. Everyone is watching. Today, the fourth match of the rock field begins. The red team is Yu from Viridian City. He has not lost any of his Pokémon since the beginning of the match. The green team is Taejun from Superpower Village. Taejun has shown a strong level of superpower so far. Now the order of shots will be randomly determined. Taejun will release his Pokémon first. Under the commentator's explanation, Yu went on stage and looked at the players on the opposite side. Sure enough, the names and people can be reversed. Taejun looked at Yu and then looked at the middle-aged uncle in the audience. After seeing the middle-aged uncle shook his head slightly, he frowned and stretched his hand that was originally intended to reach the Pokeball on the left to the right. "Come out, coconut tree." A red light flashed, and a Pokémon that looked like a coconut tree appeared on the field, but without leaves. There were 3 heads with different expressions. It's Coconut Tree, a Pokémon with both psychic and grass attributes. Although it has difficulty in moving, it often plays with its opponents with its powerful psychic attribute. The commentator actively explained. "Absol, go." Yu threw the Pokeball, and Absol appeared on the field, with its body slightly bent, revealing an aggressive posture. Contestant Yu chose Absol, a Pokémon that mainly lives in the Hone region. It is relatively rare in Kanto. Coconut Tree, use telekinesis. Taejun quickly gave the order. The eyes of the 3 heads of Coconut Tree emanated green light, and powerful telekinesis surged out and hit Absol. A flash of lightning, an evil wave. Yu said. Absol's eyes were sharp, and he leaped up. A residual image floated past and rushed away. The psychic hit his body, but it had no effect. He violently hit Coconut Tree, knocking Coconut Tree hard on the stone platform, and the rock wall broke immediately. Then the purple-black energy ball in Absol's mouth condensed, aiming at the head of the Coconut Tree, attacking at close range. The Coconut Tree suffered a critical hit and fell straight down, revealing 6 big circular eyes. The battle lasted only 1 minute. It was so fast that the commentator was stunned for a moment, and then he suddenly raised his voice and said, Yu's Absol is really too powerful, easily defeating Taejun's Christmas tree. It is especially important to note that Yu's Absol has evil attributes, which are attributes that have just been developed in the Johto region. It has a strong resistance to psychic attribute moves, so the Coconut Tree's psychic attack is almost ineffective against Absol. The audience around was a little stunned, and then they talked about it. Evil attribute? A new attribute? When I traveled to the Hone region before, I heard that Absol was a normal attribute. Now it has become an evil attribute. They said it was a new research. You were 10 years ago, isn't it normal for it to change? But if it has an evil attribute, then the psychic attribute will be greatly restrained. In the future, it won't be so difficult to deal with psychic Pokémon. Evil attribute? Taejun frowned and looked at Yu's Absol. The evil attribute and steel attribute are both newly perfected theories that have not been announced yet. Although a small number of people knew about it in advance, it was only a small number, and he obviously did not belong to this small number. That's right, your information is really not perfect. Even so, you still want to make money? Yu looked at Taejun with disdain. You dare to play a fake game without a strong enough backing. You are really bold. Even if there is resistance to psychic attributes, so what? Attributes don't determine everything. As long as the level of the Pokémon is high enough, it can defeat everything. Psychic attributes are the strongest attributes. Taejun swung the Pokéball, and a red light flashed. A thin, mainly yellow humanoid Pokémon floated in the air, with two long beards fluttering, and a spoon in each hand. Alakazam. The first psychic attribute Pokémon discovered in Kanto, and it can also be said to be the representative. Indeed, strength is supreme. As long as the strength is high enough, all attributes are false. But attributes have always been an important part of affecting strength. Yu replied, Absol, evil wave. The destructive power in Absol's mouth condensed, and suddenly burst towards Taejun. Alakazam, mental earthquake. Taejun shouted. Alakazam's eyes shone brightly, and the terrifying telekinesis burst out instantly, sweeping the earth. The rocky field trembled violently, and countless rocks flew out and smashed towards Absol. The power of superpowers is never just the superpowers themselves. The superpower can control everything nearby, and simulate the special moves of other attributes. The evil wave was released, and it clashed fiercely with the rolling rocks, colliding with each other, and the dust rolled, the smoke flew, and blocked the view. Yu's eyes changed slightly. Although this guy was playing a fake game, what the uncle said was not wrong. This Taejun is very strong. In the case of the first time seeing the evil attribute, he can deal with it so calmly. It not only shows that Alakazam is well trained, but also shows that the opponent has done enough simulation training on weekdays. Even if he encounters these emergencies, he can deal with it. Alakazam, Spirit Rock. Taejun shouted. Alakazam's eyes flashed green, and the entire rock field shook. All the rocks flew up and surrounded Absol. Although the smoke and dust rolled at this moment, his vision was blocked, but Alakazam would not. His superpowers were strong enough to sense the changes around him. Moreover, using telekinesis to control the nearby rocks and simulate the special move of rock sealing, there is no need to determine the exact position of the opponent. As long as the approximate position is good, you can always hit it. A flash of lightning, dodge all, attack. Yu said. Taejun was stunned when he heard Liao's order, and then he looked at Liao with a look like a fool. You want to dodge when you can't even see it? Are you dreaming? Bang. Liao didn't look at Taejun. He believed in his Pokémon and preferred to speak with facts. Soon, a yellow figure flew out and answered Taejun whether Absol could do it. Liao's mouth curled up slightly. Absol's sickle-like horn has a unique ability to sense danger. If it is really closed by rocks, Absol will not be able to react in time. But it is much easier to control it with superpowers. Even if you can't see it, you can rely purely on intuition. This is the skill that Absol learned before meeting Liao in the vast nature while being chased by humans. Evil wave. Liao said. The evil energy in Absol's mouth accumulated crazily and finally condensed into an energy bomb the size of a basketball, which hit Alakazam head on with an evil and terrifying aura. The rock wall broke, and Alakazam fell there powerlessly. Alakazam has lost its ability to fight. Absol has won again. Yu's Absol is so powerful. It defeated Taejun's 2 Pokémon in one go. Facing such a situation, with only one Pokémon left, can Taejun turn the tide in the end? Chapter 93 The Strong and Silly Hippo. This is a dark type Pokémon. It's really strong against a psychic type. Xiaozi, who hadn't played yet, was surprised as he watched the game. There is no absolutely powerful attribute. What's more important is the strength of the Pokémon itself. I should say that Absol is very strong, Cyanogang said. But I think the dark attribute is very powerful. It has such a strong resistance to psychic. If I had a dark type Pokémon in the Golden Gym, it wouldn't be so difficult to beat. Zyossi said. Even if you had it, you wouldn't be able to beat it. And the main way you get the gym badge is not to beat the gym trainer, Zyaksha said while holding to GP. There are a total of 8 gym badges. In addition to the poison type duel with Aju, the electric type duel with Masashi, and the half sale and half giveaway of the rocket team, the remaining 5, which one did you not give away? Beta GP excitedly waved his little hand, indicating that Zyossi was right. Zyossi looked down in disappointment, thinking that he must capture a dark type Pokémon that is handsome enough. Taejin's face was more solemn than ever. Losing 2 Pokémon in a row was completely beyond his expectations. He was playing a fake match, but he never thought about losing because of playing a fake match. He just wanted to create a very weak image for himself, then turn the tables and make money. Since the competition, many times when he lost, he was acting. But now, he really feels that he is not his opponent. That Absol is very strong. Taejin took a deep breath. There was no way to hide it. He had to use all his strength. He looked at the uncle in the audience. The middle-aged uncle nodded and confirmed Taejin's idea. Taejin's eyes were sharp. He took out the last Pokémon on his right waist and looked at Yu and said, I originally wanted to wait until at least the quarterfinals before sending it out. I didn't expect it to come out in advance now. You lost to it, and it was a worthy death. Yu raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at Taejin with eyes like looking at a mentally retarded person. Doesn't this guy have a very good self-esteem? What kind of divine pet is this? If you have the ability to throw a dark ray to me like Sinnoh Divine Beast man, don't talk nonsense. Come out, Slowpoke. Taejin threw the Pokeball, and a cute pink creature appeared on the playing field. It had a pair of huge eyes, full of confusion, and seemed to be thinking about life. There was a huge spiral shell behind its tail. Slowpoke. Yu looked at Taejin in surprise. This was really unexpected. The Pokémon that can add water, the evolved form of Slowpoke. And it is a very rare type of evolution. Shelder bites Slowpoke's tail and then evolves together. This kind of evolution method is the only one that Yu remembers. Even Pirastera is not like this. Although there is a parasitic relationship, they are not 2 Pokémon before and after evolution. But this is not the key. The key is Slowpoke. The beast is as its name suggests. Slow. A magic baby that can chat with Zyaksha Siddiq all day long. 9 out of 10 trainers who train Slowpoke will collapse. Slowpoke, water cannon. Taejin quickly gave the order. The silly hippopotamus still had a blank look in his eyes, but when he heard the order, a stream of water as thick as a bucket shot out of his mouth. Absol, destroy the death ray, Yu said. The orange-yellow beam of light condensed in Absol's mouth, and an attack burst filled with strong destructive power, colliding with the silly hippopotamus water column. After a slight stalemate in the air, the water column overwhelmed the beam of the destroying death ray and hit Absol, knocking Absol to the stage. Absol stood up, shook his body, and made an impatient sound. He didn't seem to be hurt too much, but there was clearly a bit of fatigue in his eyes. Taejin's last Pokémon is really powerful. As soon as it appeared, it curbed Yu's offensive. Yu, what should we do? The commentator said excitedly. The audience would not be excited about a flat game. Only such a game full of twists and turns would make the audience excited. Yu's face was slightly gloomy. As Taejin's last Pokémon, Hippopotamus must be strong. He could have guessed it without thinking, but he didn't expect it to be so strong. Absol's destructive death ray attack power is almost reaching the level of Aqua Seeking, but in the previous battle, it was not as good as Hippopotamus's water cannon. It means that Hippopotamus is Aqua Seeking. This is the only hippopotamus with the strength of Aqua Seeking that Yu has seen so far. See, this is my strength. Hippopotamus, don't give up, use the water cannon in succession. Taejin shouted. Hippopotamus used the water cannon in succession, and thick water columns erupted in succession. Absol, flash of lightning, dodge, Yu said. Absol exerted force on all 4 hooves, turned into white light, and jumped on the rocky ground to avoid Hippopotamus's water cannon. It was a blessing in disguise. The gap in strength between the two sides was not so great that the attributes were invalid. Otherwise, a Qua-seeking superpower Pokémon could really carry the whole game. Only the water cannon could be resisted. However, if you just run away, you will definitely be hit. Long range attack ability is strong. What about close combat? Absol, split. Yu shouted coldly, and Absol turned into white light and pounced on the hippopotamus. Its front limbs glowed slightly, and it chopped at the hippopotamus fiercely. Want a close combat? But how do you know that my hippopotamus is not good at close combat? Taejun's mouth curled up slightly. Hippopotamus, million-ton punch. The hippopotamus' right fist shone brightly and collided head-on with Absol's split, and Absol was affected and knocked away. Although Hippopotamus has strong superpowers, his fighting ability is also not weak. I'm waiting for you to come here. Taejun said. Hippopotamus, let go and fight with all your strength. Hippopotamus used the spiral shell of his tail to stabilize his body, and then his fists glowed white light, and he fought with Absol. Absol collided violently, but soon fell into a disadvantage, and was no match for Hippopotamus. This hippopotamus is so powerful? Nero said in surprise, while looking at Hippopotamus in the arena from the audience. He had never thought that a Pokémon like Hippopotamus could be played to this extent. Yes, it is good. If Hippopotamus is trained to this extent, Absol would have been defeated if his superpowers were not sealed. Sirona nodded, acknowledging the opponent's strength. So Yu is sure to lose, Nero said with a hint of excitement. Yu only used one, and the opponent already has the third one. There is not much suspense in this game. Yu will win. It's just that I'm a little confused about who will win between Absol and Hippopotamus. Sirona said. What is there to be confused about? Hippopotamus will definitely win. Is there any need to doubt it? Whether it is the ultimate skill strength or the tactical strategy, there is no possible change. Unless Absol suddenly takes medicine and his strength increases greatly. Nero said. If it were any other Pokémon, maybe not, but the opponent is Hippopotamus, so there is. It depends on whether you can grasp it. Sirona smiled lightly, with wisdom in her hands, as if everything was under control. Hippopotamus and Absol were fighting, and both were hurt, but overall, Hippopotamus was in much better condition than Absol. With both hands in front, the million-ton punch was fired left and right, and the spiral shell in the back, using the baker knife to attack. The melee strength is completely comparable to that of ordinary fighting Pokémon. If there is no accident, this battle will end with Hippopotamus' victory. Yu's eyes were focused. If they continued to fight like this, Absol would definitely lose, and would have to change Pokémon. But he clearly sensed that Absol still wanted to fight. And if he didn't change, how could he win? Did he win? Hippopotamus swung his tail and a shell knife hit Absol. Yu's eyes suddenly lit up. Chapter 94. Pokémon's own characteristics are more important than anything else. Absol, take it head on. Yu shouted loudly. Absol's eyes were fierce. Although this order was a little difficult to accept, it chose to believe Yu without hesitation. No longer dodging, it faced the huge shell thrown by the hippopotamus tail head on. Shirona's mouth curled up slightly. It seemed that she had discovered it. Now it depends on whether Absol can hold on. The hippopotamus tail whipped violently, and the spiral shell on the tail exuded a sharp breath and hit Absol. Absol was in pain and trembled violently, but under Yu's order, it hugged the hippopotamus's shell tightly. This is the time. Split it open and hit the hippopotamus tail. Yu roared. Success or failure depends on this one move. Absol roared angrily, and the front limbs emitted a dazzling white light. It chopped down violently, and chopped on the hippopotamus tail. As fast as the wind, the hippopotamus tail broke directly. The hippopotamus body and the shell on the tail were completely separated, which was truly a one-shot cut. Then, the two parts of the body emitted white light after separation. Slowpoke's dazed eyes became even more dazed. Then, because of the loss of Slowpoke's gravity balance, it lay directly on the ground and turned into Slowpoke before evolution. Overall, there seemed to be no difference, as if it didn't even feel the pain of its tail being broken. And the spiral shell that was originally parasitic on Slowpoke's tail flashed with light, and then it changed from a spiral shell to a shelter. Oh my god, Slowpoke has degenerated. Player Yu is really a genius trainer. He grasped Slowpoke's own characteristics and sought life in a desperate situation. He let Absol bear Slowpoke's strong attack in exchange for a great opportunity to attack Slowpoke's tail at close range. He cut off Slowpoke's tail with one move, separated Slowpoke and Shelder, and achieved a wonderful degeneration. The commentator explained excitedly. Although it is relatively rare for Pokémon to evolve during the competition, with so many players participating in the competition every year, such things happen almost every year. But this is the first case of Pokémon degeneration in his hosting career. After all, this kind of thing is just a rumor. Evolution is irreversible for most Pokémon, just like people cannot turn back to youth. But Slowpoke is an exception. Symbiotic evolution is indispensable. In other words, if the tail is broken, it will return to its original form. Absol, the last evil wave, all solved. Yu said. The two Pokémon together, strange symbiosis, is aqua-seeking, and separated, at most elite. And without Shelder, Slowpoke has no way to stand up. All its arm fighting skills are scrapped, and superpowers are ineffective against Absol. How can it fight? The strong evil energy in Absol's mouth gathered, and the evil wave burst out and hit Slowpoke. Slowpoke, lying on the ground, was wooden the whole time, until it was hit by the evil wave, revealing a pair of big circle eyes, and completely lost its ability to fight. Afterwards, the same method was used, and Shelder fell to the ground, completely losing its ability to fight. How is it possible? How can a Pokémon degenerate? Are you cheating? Taejin looked at the scene in disbelief and shouted at Yu. Are you going crazy after losing the game? Saying this only shows that you don't understand Pokémon well enough. Yu responded with disdain and said nothing more. He picked up the Pokéball, took back the Absol, and walked towards the Pokémon Center. Treatment is important now. How can we care about the match fixing on the other side? After the treatment is completed, make a phone call to report it. Congratulations. Prepare for a life of suspension. If it is serious, there may be a long life behind bars waiting for you. There is actually such a method? Nero was stunned in the audience. This is the real Pokémon battle. What you learned in school is all theoretical. The books will tell you what kind of special moves a Pokémon can learn at what level, what the effects of each special move are, and how to match them after learning a special move. But battles are ever changing, and the characteristics of the opponent's Pokémon are equally important. Just like the flame of Charizard's tail is its source of life, so although it can learn Ninetale, most trainers will not use this move against the enemy, because it is equivalent to actively giving their weak points to the opponent. Sharona shook her head. Is this a Pokémon battle? Nero was stunned, feeling that something was being reshaped. Sharona smiled slightly. There is impact, and there is growth. However, speaking of this kid has never had 3 Pokémon in a game so far. I didn't do this back then. Is this class too bad? The meeting room of the top executives of the Pokémon League. President Damalanshi and Ghost King Kiku sat on the sofa, watching the live broadcast. President Damalanshi smiled and said, "You are worthy of your family. If you continue to develop like this, someone will be the champion of the Kanto League. Don't praise him so much. If he knows, he will get carried away." Kiku said no, but a relieved smile appeared on her face. "Young man, you should be proud. Otherwise, you will be like the two of us, depressed and decadent, and the league will be hopeless." President Damalanshi smiled. "I'm the Ghost King, and I should be depressed, but you are different. You go to the league venue every day to sell balloons to children. I feel that you are full of energy." Kiku teased. "Only when I'm with the children can I feel the future of our league. Like Zyozzy, I see the passion of the younger generation in him." President Damalanshi said. "Zyozzy is a passionate and impulsive child. Although he does things without thinking, he is really good in terms of infectiousness." Kiku said. "We are old. It's time for the young to rule the world." President Damalanshi said. "The younger generation?" Kiku looked at President Damalanshi suspiciously. At their level of status, they didn't say anything random. Yu is her junior, and everything she has is destined to be handed over to Yu in the future. That's fine, but Zyozzy? According to what President Damalanshi meant, is it possible that the alliance will be handed over to Zyozzy in the future? Don't scare me. Congratulations to everyone for making it to the 5th round. In the evening, Yu, Professor Oak, Hanako and a group of people gathered together to celebrate that Yu, Zyossi and Zyomeo all made it to the 5th round. Yu nodded and then happily ate the food made by Hanako. In order to celebrate, Hanako discussed with the restaurant, borrowed the restaurant's kitchen, and prepared a sumptuous meal for Yu and the other two. Then, Yu ate with infinite joy. Eat slowly, no one will snatch it from you, Hanako said as she looked at Yu who was eating seriously. Yu said incoherently. Is it so delicious? Zyossi asked in confusion. Why don't I feel it? Nonsense, you have been eating it since you were a child. It would be strange if you feel it, Zyomeo said. Isn't it the same for you? Zyossi said. When Zyomeo, Yao and Zyossi were young, the longest time they appeared on the same screen was when they ate at Hanako's house. Because Yao and Zyumeo's families are special. Zyomeo, his father works for Interpol, and his mother cooperates with him, and is not in the Kanto area all year round. Then follow Professor Oak. If you don't want to eat instant noodles, you have to go to Hanako's house honestly. And Yao, don't say anything, he is an accident. When his parents are busy, they don't have time to take care of him. When they are not busy, they are busy living in their own world. Only when they are not busy, and have shown enough affection, they remember that they still have a son. In terms of reliability, he is not as good as Yao's aunt Kyojin-Ayu. But Kyojin-Ayu is very familiar with gun machinery, but when it comes to cooking and taking care of things, if Yao hadn't traveled through time and space and reborn, he would have been played to death. So the three of them have been eating at Hanako's house for a long time. It's different. You just don't know how to appreciate your good fortune. Yu was finally a little tired from eating. He took a break and drank some water. It's okay, Yu. If you want to eat at my house, come anytime. If you don't mind your aunt, I can cook for you for the rest of your life. Hanako smiled. Okay, Yu said. Tomorrow we will know who your opponent will be. The day after tomorrow we will go to the court's main venue to compete. You all have to work hard, especially Zyossi and Zyomeo. You represent the light of Pallet Town. Professor Oak said. Grandpa Oak, what you said is to exclude me, Yu said. There is no way. Who told you that your household registration is no longer in Pallet Town? How about transferring your household registration back? Professor Oak smiled. No, I'm afraid my old nanny will kill me, Yu said. Then you can't blame me. But the way you defeated the hippopotamus today did surprise me a little. It doesn't seem like you should know how to do it at your age. Professor Oak said. I have to thank Mr. Zyabo for letting me be the acting gym trainer at the Red Lotus Gym. He allowed me to meet many trainers and understand things about fighting. In addition, it's you, Grandpa Oak. If you hadn't been idle that day studying the mystery of Slowpoke's evolution to Slowpoke, I wouldn't have thought of this, Yu said. How can I be called idle and bored? This is real confusion. Two Pokémon combine and evolve together, and Shelder also changes from a scallop to a spiral shell. This is work research, Professor Oak retorted. But have you discovered anything? Going to see Professor Nishinomori still yielded no results. And studying this, Magikarp evolves into Gyarados, isn't it legendary? Haxorus goes from a slender and delicate beauty dragon to a fat and big one with hands and feet, isn't it outrageous? Evolution is something that humans can't understand, Yu said. As soon as Yu finished speaking, he suddenly felt a gust of wind coming, and then a fat and big yellow figure flew over and ate up the food in Yu's bowl in one bite. Dragonite, Yu roared with his eyes blazing. Dragonite turned his head with a proud look on his face and asked you to say I'm fat. Chapter 95 Battle. I didn't expect that the opponent in the 5th round would be you. Yu looked at Nero in surprise. It doesn't matter. Anyway, when you meet me, your journey to the Kanto Conference will end. This game will be your last game in the Kanto Conference. Nero looked at Yu provocatively. Don't brag too early. You can tell at a glance that what you said is what a passerby villain in a novel says. Wait until you beat me before you say it. Yu shook his head. No, it's the hero protagonist. As long as I win, what I say will become a famous quote and then written into the textbook for others to recite. Nero said. That's right, Kit. Did you recite too many famous quotes when you were a child? Yu said. Stop talking nonsense. You didn't beat me. Let's play. Nero said. Then you can release the Pokémon. It's not like I'm going to attack first. Yu said. Nero exhaled, almost forgotten by this guy, tried to calm down, took out the Pokéball and said, Strength, go ahead, win the first game. Strength. Seeing this Pokémon, Yu's expression was subtle. Other Pokémon were fine, but he really wanted to beat this Pokémon violently. God knows how he was abused by Cyber's strength during his time in Pallet Town. Haunter, play with it. Yu threw the Pokéball, and Haunter appeared on the field, exuding a cold breath all over his body. It's really Haunter. Nero's face sank. It was this Pokémon that defeated his tortoise at the beginning, but in order to defeat Yu these days, he has done a lot of special things against it. Strength, see-through. With a low shout, strange light immediately appeared in Strange's eyes and looked directly at Haunter. As long as it hits, the ghost type will no longer be immune to Strange's fighting type tricks. Subconscious surprise attack. Yu shouted. Haunter suddenly turned into a shadow and disappeared without a trace. Strange was full of confusion, not knowing what happened. Before he could react, a powerful force was reported from his shadow, and he was knocked out and fell heavily on the edge of the field, almost hitting the audience. Do you think that, if you use the see-through, you will definitely hit it? Yu looked at Nero with a smile. If it was really that easy, Zibber would not have been suppressed by his aunt for so long. There is no necessary relationship between your use and your hit. Strange, cheer up, we still have a chance. Hang on. Nero ignored Yu and shouted to Strange. Strange heard the encouragement of the trainer and insisted on getting up. Shadow Ball. Yu's ruthless voice sounded almost at the same time. A huge shadow ball of Haunter flew over, with a bang and dust flying. After the wind and sand dispersed, Strange showed a pair of large circular eyes, indicating that it had completely lost its combat ability. You are not Zaozi, you don't have the time to talk invincibility. Yu's Haunter is as strong as ever. The power of a hidden strike is unexpectedly strong. He hit Nero's strength with one move, and then killed him instantly with a shadow ball. At the same time, he used hidden strike to avoid being detected by the strength. This method is worth learning for many trainers in front of the TV. In this case, how should Nero fight back? Toto, let's wash away our shame together. Nero retracted his strength, and then threw another Pokéball. A huge green land turtle with a tree on its back appeared on the field, making a vicious roar. Nero was the first to release a Pokémon, Toto, which is the final evolution of the grass-type Pokémon Squirtle, which was first obtained in the Sinnoh region. It has both grass and ground attributes. The commentator explained the situation for the audience. Has it evolved? It seems that it is stronger, but isn't the failure last time enough? It's useless to be slow. Yu said. This time is different from the last time. Toto uses Sandstorm. Nero shouted. The tortoise let out a low roar. It remembered Yu and Haunter, and was very impressed. It had been defeated before, but it was only that time that it felt very frustrated. In order to defeat Yu and Haunter, it worked hard to train, and now it has finally evolved. It finally has a chance to take revenge. The mysterious power on its body vibrated, and the wind and sand around it rose up, and then turned into a violent sandstorm, sweeping the entire venue. No matter how invisible Haunter was, it could attack it. As for Haunter's various combination moves, he also sought advice from a special teacher in the school, and got a special way to deal with it. Haunter, sneak attack. Yu said. It was grey all around, and the weather was really bad. I won't play anymore, I'll just beat it head on. Haunter understood what Yu was thinking, and laughed sinisterly throughout the entire competition venue. The atmosphere suddenly became gloomy, and he turned into a black shadow, and suddenly came to the Tute turtle at an unpredictable speed. The powerful force hit the Tute turtle like a tidal wave. The Tute turtle immediately showed a painful expression, and its huge and heavy body was directly overturned. The whole tortoise shell was broken, and its forelegs were facing the sky, unable to move, and it made a painful and dissatisfied cry. Tute turtle. Nero looked at the Haunter opposite in disbelief. With the power of Haunterer, it could actually overturn the Tute turtle. whose heavy body was even a little laborious for it, and was forced to use the turret tactics. How could this be possible? He imagined thousands of tactics, but there was no such one, so for a moment, he had no idea how to deal with it. In fact, he couldn't deal with it, because after the Tite turtle turned its forelegs upside down, it completely lost its ability to move. If such a Tite turtle did not achieve training, it would definitely die. When Sharona saw this, she was also stunned. The power of this haunter was stronger than she had imagined. She originally thought that it was good enough that it was not killed by Garchomp, but she did not expect that the attack power was so strong. In this case, it is not far from the king level. Haunter, ultimate absorption. Yu was also a little surprised when he saw this scene, but his experience as the acting gym trainer of the Red Lotus Gym for 2 months was fully demonstrated at this time, and he still gave the order decisively. Haunter suddenly floated around the tortoise, and then a green light flashed, and a large amount of physical strength was transferred from the tortoise to Haunter. The tortoise naturally refused and struggled hard, but it was turned over, and it was really difficult for it to launch an effective attack at this moment. After Haunter avoided its head, it easily absorbed it. Turtle, come back. Nero finally reacted, and took out the Pokeball, wanting to take back the tortoise. He couldn't think of a way to deal with it, so he took it back first. At worst, take it back and release it, and then you can turn over. Black eyes. Yu's voice slowly rang out. Haunter's eyes emitted strange light, which was imprinted on tortoise. The rays of the Pokeball were completely ineffective, and could not be retracted. Black eyes is specially used to resist the rays of the Pokeball, so that the Pokémon cannot return to the Pokeball. It was invented by the gym trainer, and then gradually spread. It has become a favorite trick of many calculating tactics trainers. Haunter naturally knows how to do it. Since it has come to this, it will naturally not let Tortoise go. Lose. Professor Oak shook his head slightly. At this point, Tortoise is basically doomed to lose. Even Nero is basically doomed to lose this game. Because Yu has only used one Pokémon so far, and there are still 2 that have not come out, and more importantly, Haunter's physical strength has been replenished through the ultimate absorption, so there is almost no loss. Unless Nero's last Pokémon is a king level, there is no need to fight. Turn the turtle over, and let the turtle absorb the opponent's physical strength without being able to move. The damage is not great, but it is really insulting. Xiaomao shook his head. I secretly planned in my heart that I must not let my Squirtle be turned over. It's too insulting to the turtle. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 96, Hurtful and Insulting. Stoot has lost its ability to fight. Now Nero has only 1 Pokémon left, while Yu still has 3 Pokémon. Faced with such a huge disparity, what is Nero's last Pokémon? Nero put away Stoot, and looked at Yu with a look of resentment in his eyes, saying, "You are too shameless to treat Stoot like this. This is a tactic. You are really a child, to say shameless all the time. And there are oxen trees on the shell of Stoot. Although they were broken by me, it is better than the naked Squirtle. It can turn back, if you try hard. You didn't turn back, which means you are not well trained." Yu said. "It's easy to talk, but it doesn't matter. Next, I will make you despair. Look at my last trump card. If I didn't bring it last time, I wouldn't have lost." Nero took out a Pokeball and threw it out. "Griffin, come out." A red light flashed, and a Garchomp that was smaller than Sharona's Garchomp, but equally ferocious and powerful, appeared on the field. Yu's expression changed slightly. Should I say that he is worthy of being Sharona's cousin? There is also a Garchomp. However, it is not bad. Dragonite has not played in the duel so far. The battle of quasi-gods sounds exciting. Haunter, come back. Yu picked up the Pokeball and was about to take back Haunter, but Haunter nimbly dodged the red light of the retraction, looked at Yu, and showed a devilish smile. Yu, who grew up together, understood Haunter's meaning in an instant. "I want to beat that Garchomp in various ways. Yu understood instantly, then shook his head and said, "It is a very useless thing to seek revenge on the small one when you can't beat the big one." Haunter turned his head proudly, "And I will fight." "Okay, continue," Yu said. Haunter then showed a satisfied smile. "Gargoyle, take the initiative, Dragon Claw," Nero said. Nero's Garchomp showed a ferocious smile, and the dragon power condensed into a pair of dragon claws, which were about to burst out with a shocking attack. At this moment, a sudden sound rang out. Shadow Sneak Attack. Almost at the same time, a dark claw suddenly stretched out from the shadow behind Garchomp, silently hitting Garchomp's back, knocking Garchomp directly to the ground. Poisonous. Before Garchomp got up, Yu's order sounded again, and Haunter quickly floated over, emitting a thick purple-black fog. "Gargoyle, dig a hole quickly," Nero shouted hurriedly. Garchomp dug with both hands and immediately dug out a deep cave, drilled into it, and avoided the poisonous attack. Frozen Wind. Yu's order sounded again, and Haunter suddenly blew out a sharp cold current, and the cold current with ice power blew along the hole dug by Garchomp, blowing all the way down. After a moment, Garchomp flew out of the ground in a panic, with ice crystals still on his body. Yu's mouth curled up slightly. Garchomp has both dragon and ground attributes, and his ice attribute trick can cause 4 times the damage. Even if Haunter's Frost Wind is not very powerful, the effect is weakened by digging a hole, but when it is multiplied by 4, the effect is still excellent. If you come out, you will continue to be beaten. Spirit Sneak Attack. Yu shouted. Haunter understood instantly and used the Shadow Sneak Attack that only Giratina and himself could do. It turned into a black shadow and instantly enveloped Garchomp. The powerful ghost power hit Garchomp and knocked him to the ground again. Freezing Wind. Yu kept giving attack commands. Haunter opened his mouth and blew out a biting cold wind, blowing towards Garchomp. "That's enough. Garchomp, use Dragon Dive," Nero roared, starting with Freezing Wind, and used his special moves one after another. Did he think Garchomp couldn't use any moves? Garchomp roared, and a purple dragon phantom emerged from his body, releasing the terrifying aura of an ancient dragon, and rushed towards Haunter in the sky with murderous intent. Haunter's Freezing Wind didn't hit Garchomp, and was completely offset by Garchomp's dragon phantom, passing through. Haunter was forced to float to the side, and for the first time, a painful expression appeared on his face. "It's so exciting." Yu has been in control of the situation since the beginning of the game. He used Shadow Sneak attacks to gain the upper hand, and then used a series of combos to completely suppress Garchomp. Even if Garchomp drilled into the ground, he could quickly force it. It's really amazing. And Nero also sensed that something was wrong. At the critical moment, he used a powerful Dragon God Dive to interrupt Yu's momentum. Is the situation going to fall into Nero's hands now? The commentator shouted at the microphone with all his strength. This kind of powerful game usually only happens in the quarterfinals or even the semifinals. I didn't expect it to happen in the round of 16. It was really unexpected. But such a game is more exciting to comment on. The emotions of the audience and the audience seats were also fully mobilized, and they watched the game excitedly. Gargoyle, follow up on the victory, 2 consecutive slashes. Nero shouted hard, as if his decibels were proportional to the strength of the Pokémon. Garchomp's eyes were sharp, staring at Haunter, as if he saw prey, and his sickle-like arms swung sharply, 2 consecutive strikes, unstoppable and unstoppable. Haunter, Shadow Ball, Yu said. Haunter gathered powerful shadow balls in both hands, threw them violently, and fought fiercely with Garchomp in the sky. Although neither of them had flying attributes, they were no less than flying Pokémon in terms of aerial combat. Back and forth, the dragon power and the ghost power clashed fiercely in the air, causing the battlefield to tremble and the air to explode. The audience was very satisfied, but they were also a little worried that these attacks would hit them. Fortunately, the Alliance's defense measures were in place, and Yu and Nero were also prepared, and the power of the attack burst was concentrated in the venue. Gargoyle, Dragon Claw, Nero shouted. Garchomp gathered the dragon power in both hands, and the dragon claw burst out, hitting Haunter. Shadow Clones. Haunter's figure turned, and dozens of clones appeared densely in the air. Garchomp's dragon claws hit it, but it missed. Dragon meteor. Nero shouted again. Garchomp raised his head, golden light flashed in his mouth, and a ball suddenly flew into the sky and then exploded instantly, bursting into countless meteors and hitting all the clones of Haunter. It is difficult to accurately find the real body hidden among countless clones, so when facing shadow clones, the simplest way to attack is to attack all of them. Meteors fell, and all Haunters disappeared. But Nero's face did not improve, but became uglier. Everything disappeared, proving that Haunter's real body is not here. Hypnosis. Yu's voice sounded. Haunter really appeared in front of Garchomp like a ghost, and strange light waves were emitted from his eyes, pulling Garchomp into the dream. Garchomp fell to the ground with a bang. Nightmare. Yu gave the last command, and Haunter laughed sinisterly and flew into Garchomp's body. Nightmare. After hypnosis, wouldn't it be better to use Dream Eater? The attack effect is almost the same, and it can also restore your own physical strength. Xiao Mao looked at the game strangely and said, in terms of numerical value, it's the same, or even better, because using Nightmare may wake up the opponent's Pokémon, but it's different from the Pokémon's feelings. Dream Eater is normal absorption, but Nightmare is to enter the opponent's Pokémon's dream and create a dream. Professor Oak said. So the damage is great and more insulting. Xiao Mao said. That's right. Professor Oak nodded, but even if Garchomp wakes up, it can't change the outcome. You might as well worry about your game in the afternoon and Xiao's game tomorrow instead of worrying about this. I don't have to worry, I can definitely win. Xiaozi, why should I worry about him? Xiao Mao turned his head and said proudly. Chapter 97, Missing Xiaozi. Bang, bang, bang. After winning the game, I have some free time for now. I'll go watch other people's games. I watched Xiao Mao's game yesterday afternoon. There weren't any big surprises. After being trained by Chabot, Xiao Mao has grown a lot, and the strength of Windy Dog has been raised to the Quasi-King level. With the cooperation of other Pokémon who are all elite, they successfully passed the 5th round and entered the quarterfinals. He got the best result that he had never achieved in the original book. Today is to watch Xiao's game. Yu booked a row of seats in advance and asked all his Pokémon to come out to watch the game. Only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you win every battle. And this knowledge is not only known by the trainer, but also includes the need for Pokémon to be familiar with their next opponent in advance. However, the effect is not very obvious. For example, Raichu has been playing whack-a-mole with Lilia's tablet. The two little hands tapped the tablet at a lightning speed, and the speed was so fast that it was dazzling. Stottle leaned next to Raichu, not playing, just watching Raichu play whack-a-mole, watching with relish. Dragonite was holding a big bucket of popcorn, and his claws kept digging out popcorn to eat. Not to mention Haunter, he didn't even sit here, but floated directly to Serona to TZV. Only Flamahorn and Absol were watching the game. Seeing the performance of this family, Yu expressed his helplessness as the head of the family, then silently took out his mobile phone and played games online with Xiaoxu and Lilia. Anyway, the game hasn't started yet. After playing for a long time, Xiaozi didn't appear. Instead, Xiaozi's opponent in this game, Ahang, appeared first. Wearing a hat, a Pikachu stood on his shoulder. If it weren't for the fact that this Pikachu had a small tuft of hair on his head, Yu would have thought he saw Xiaozi. But speaking of it, the relationship between the two is indeed very close. Both use the first protagonist read in the game as a template for prototype design. Xiaozi took the main part, and what Xiaozi didn't use was used on Ahang. But unfortunately, because of the division into two, neither of them reached the championship of this conference. In the original trajectory, Xiaozi lost the game because of the interference of Team Rocket, but Ahang's strength is really not much stronger than Xiaozi. Wait, Team Rocket interfered? Yu raised his eyebrows and looked in the direction of Xiaozi's appearance. Sure enough, Xiaozi was not seen. Later, Xiaoxia rushed out aggressively and grabbed Ahang's collar to question him. Sure enough, something happened again. Yu sighed heavily and looked at Dragonite, who was holding a popcorn bucket on the side, and said, "Eat later, come with me to save people first." Dragonite cried out, looking at the bucket-sized popcorn in his hand reluctantly put it down, walked to Yu, and lowered his body. Yu quickly wrote on it. Xiaoyao, are you looking for Xiaozi? Hanako said. Yes, don't worry, I will find Xiaozi back. Yu smiled slightly, patted Dragonite's head, and flew into the sky. It was a bit difficult to find Xiaozi. After all, Yu didn't know where he went. But it's not easy to find Xiaozi, but it's easy to find Team Rocket. Just see the Meowth balloon. And Xiaozi will definitely not go too far. With the Alliance venue as the center, a few kilometers in radius is enough. Dragonite can circle the world in 16 hours. If you see a Meowth balloon, just fly over. Dragonite carried Yu and soared into the sky quickly, with the wind whistling. Yu decisively put on goggles and rode Dragonite, flying all the way. Soon he saw a huge Meowth balloon. Yu immediately controlled Dragonite to stop, looked down, and saw a boy riding a bicycle crazily with Pikachu on his shoulder. Don't bother me, I don't have time to accompany you today. Xiaozi, who was riding a bicycle crazily on the ground, shouted angrily at Musashi and the other two. Hey, little brat, don't talk nonsense. There are plenty of sweet things for you to play with, big sisters. Musashi made a charming pose. However, it is obvious that posing to Xiaozi is less effective than flirting with this blind man. Dragonite, speed. Yu said. Dragonite's cute eyes suddenly became sharp, turned into a white light, and rushed straight to Meow Meow's hot air balloon. The figure passed by, and Meow Meow's hot air balloon exploded directly. Musashi, Kichiro, and Meow Meow turned into meteors in an instant. The three people looked at each other, completely unaware of what happened. You looked at me, and I looked at you. Why did it fly again? The little devil didn't attack. What should I do? Shout slogans. What a disgusting feeling looking at the guy who turned into 3 meteors. Yu shook his head helplessly. He is really a guy who never learns. Xiaozi, come up, come with me. Yu sat on Dragonite and lowered his head to shout at Xiaozi. Yu. Xiaozi looked up and said in surprise. Yu controlled Dragonite to land on the ground, looked at Xiaozi and said, come up. You said you too. You have been hit so many times. Can't you gain some experience? I didn't expect that Musashi would use Ahung's voice to deceive me. Xiaozi said aggrievedly. Think about it more in the future. Musashi's 3 people can fly into the sky and into the ground. There is nothing they can't do. Yu said. Yeah, that's why I hate them. Xiaozi frowned. As a newbie, his journey was really full of ups and downs. On the first day, he was chased by a group of Spearows. He jumped down the waterfall alone and rushed into the river. He met Gyarados in the water and narrowly escaped death. He finally went to the Pokémon Center with Pikachu. As a result, on the second day, the two of them and the cat were completely entangled. From then on, when you walked to the side, there were suddenly traps on the ground, and when you were eating, a mechanical suddenly flew in the sky. These became commonplace. Hate it? Yu raised his eyebrows slightly. This time it was indeed very annoying, causing you, who was originally on the track, to interrupt your journey to the Quartz Conference. But if I remember correctly, this seems to be the only time they really hurt you. At other times, they basically wanted to hurt you seriously, but inexplicably gave you assists and experience. You can grow up like this, and they have contributed a lot. That's why some people think that your poor performance in Unova is because these 3 didn't give you experience. Yeah, it's very troublesome. Xiaozi said disdainfully. Yu thought about it and nodded. For those who watch the show, playing memes is an assist, but if you really become Xiaozi and experience the 3 rockets, you will probably die if your heart is not strong enough. If Xiaozi's protagonist Halo is not strong, his Pokémon would have been taken away long ago. Moreover, you have experienced hardships and then grown up, but whether this hardship is worth being thankful for has always been a question worth discussing. Could it be that someone killed your parents, forced your wife, and made you die and have nothing, and then you changed yourself, worked hard, and then took revenge, became a superior person, and then you have to thank that enemy? Complete nonsense. Dragonite flew swiftly and soon arrived at the competition venue. Let Xiaozi and Ahung's game go on as scheduled. Chapter 98 Stunning Fire-Breathing Dragon. The game officially begins. Ahung from the red team attacked first and released Butterfree. Ash from the green team was equally strong and released Squirtle. Butterfree kept flying, showing off his graceful figure. Squirtle, left hook, right hook, calf jump, a series of punches. It's unimaginable. Squirtle actually has such speed. Oh no, Butterfree used sleep powder. Squirtle got hit. It seems that the previous entanglement with Musashi and the others consumed a lot of Squirtle's physical strength. Yu shook his head slightly. He used Dragonite to pick up Ash, just to let Ash's Pokémon save physical strength. But now it seems that the effect is not obvious. So, Ash is going to lose. Lily said with a bit of worry on her face. She felt that Ash was also very good after getting along with him these days, very much like her friends in Alala, enthusiastic and without scheming, but he just lost like that. Who told him not to train his Pokémon well? Such a thing happened on the day of the conference. He should be taught a lesson. If it were me, I would never have such a problem. There are only a few Pokémon, and it is not convenient to change them. Xiaomao curled his lips. Well, there is nothing to say about other aspects, but in terms of Pokémon, Xiaomao, what are you doing with those more than 200 Pokémon? Yu looked at Xiaomao and said, more than 200, can you train them all? Even the king and the champion generally have 6 main forces, 6 second teams, and some other interests, which add up to about 30. Some may have fewer, like Do, who only has 12, 1 team and 1 team. How can I satisfy my love for them by catching them once? Xiaomao said. So, you are suitable to be a researcher like Grandpa Oak. Yu said. In the original book, it is not without reason that Xiaomao became a Pokémon researcher in the end. He only needs to take care of them. The more the better. He does not need to think about fighting and see all kinds of new Pokémon. I want to be a Pokémon master, not a researcher. Xiaomao retorted. Okay, stop arguing and watch the game. Xiaozi should not lose this game. Professor Oak smiled and interrupted the quarrel between Yu and Xiaomao. Not losing? Yu and Xiaomao were both stunned, and then they all stared at the game. Xiaozi in the field naturally didn't know about the quarrel of the group of people in the audience. Looking at the tired Pikachu on his shoulder, he knew it was inconvenient to let Pikachu go up. So he took out a Pokeball and said, Charizard, it's decided to be you. The Pokeball was thrown out, a red light flashed, and a deafening roar broke out. A fire dragon appeared on the field, and its wings vibrated, and a raging wind blew up, blowing Ahang's Butterfree out of control. Charizard, spray flames. Xiaozi shouted. The Charizard suddenly spit out a mouthful of scorching flames, which spread domineeringly. Before Butterfree could react, it was hit by a mouthful of flames and fell straight down, revealing a pair of background eyes. Butterfree lost its ability to fight, and Ash's Charizard showed its strong strength in its first appearance. Did Ash hide his weakness from the beginning to the end? The commentator explained. The audience was in high spirits. Compared with the battle between weak Pokémon, they naturally wanted to watch the strong ones, like Garchomp, and now Charizard. With the strength and size, it looks very strong. When did Ash's Charizard obey? Yu said in surprise. No wonder Professor Oak said that Ash would win. If Charizard was willing to listen to Ash, Ash would have a chance to challenge for the championship. Old Charizard, are these 2 words fake? After you were in danger, Ash felt that his strength was not enough, so he asked me how to become stronger, how to make Charizard obedient. Professor Oak said. Then what? Yu asked curiously. Then, I asked about Charizard, and found that Charizard actually had feelings for Xiaozi, but he felt that Xiaozi's opponent was too weak, so he had no interest in it. In addition, his personality changed after evolution, so he was disobedient. So, I'll let Charizard fight with my Dragonite. After that, Xiaozi's Charizard stayed in the Pokémon Center for 3 days, and then it became obedient. Professor Oak said. Use your Dragonite to fight Xiaozi's Charizard? Yu looked at Professor Oak. Did Xiaozi's Charizard not have a psychological trauma? Although the old Charizard is strong, this strength is for their age, not for Professor Oak's level. In the Orange Islands, Charizard was not honest and was killed by Kona's Slow Hippo with a petrification skill. And Slow Hippo is not Kona's trump card. Yes, the effect is obvious. After 3 days at the Pokémon Center, Xiaozi successfully made Charizard willing to obey his command. This is the power of bond. The great friendship between humans and Pokémon. Professor Oak said. Grandpa, do you have Dragonite? Yu had nothing to say, but Xiaomao asked back curiously. Yu's expression also became confused. Looking at Xiaomao, you really underestimated your grandpa. Then after thinking about it, Yu looked at Professor Oak again, his eyes full of meaning. You are really hiding it. Don't look at the old man like that. Compared with Dr. Kuki of Lala, I'm not counted. Dr. Oak said. What's wrong with Dr. Kuki? Lilia looked up and asked, why did she talk about Dr. Kuki? Did Dr. Kuki hide something? That's right. Yu nodded, without answering Lilia's words, but thinking about Lilia's Dr. Kuki. On the surface, he is just a regional doctor, but in fact he is the strongest trainer in Alala. And he kept it a secret so that Xiaozi, who will live under the same roof with him in the future, and even his future wife Dr. Barnett, didn't know. Are all of you doctors so good at hiding? Where are your ace main forces placed? How do you train them? Charizard, Flame Vortex. Xiaozi's enthusiastic command drew Yu's attention back to it. He saw Charizard spit out a huge vortex of flames, which enveloped Ahung's Charmeleon. After the flames, Charmeleon fell straight down, revealing a pair of big circle eyes, and completely lost its ability to fight. Yu shook his head slightly. After Charizard appeared, there was really no suspense in this game. The two sides were not Pokémon of the same level at all. It was like a group of kindergarten children were fighting, and then a junior high school student broke in. Isn't it just one punch to kill a little brother? Seeing that Ahung's Pikachu couldn't even stand under the full force of Charizard, Yu silently lit a candle for him, quietly watched him lose miserably, and enjoyed the celebration banquet prepared by Hanako for Xiaozi. Chapter 99 Yu vs. Xiao. Tomorrow is the quarterfinals. You will have to fight with 6 Pokémon. You have never fought with 6 Pokémon before. Are you ready? After dinner, when I came back at night, I saw my aunt Kikuko waiting for me in the room early in the morning. She has not come to see Yu since Yu participated in the league meeting, because in the previous few games, she felt that there was no need to worry about Yu's strength. In addition, she didn't want to meet with Damu, so she didn't meet him. But now there is a 6-2-6 showdown, and she can't help but come. After all, there is a big difference between a 6-2-6 battle and a 3-2-3 battle. The arrangement of trainers Pokémon requires higher tactical command. I don't know who the opponent is yet, but it's almost there, Yu said. Arranging suitable Pokémon to fight is probably the trouble of all trainers here, because most normal trainers have 10 to 20 Pokémon in their hands at this time. If they are just out, they may be too passionate about Pokémon, and it is normal to have more than 30. Even Xiaozi would have to worry about how to choose 6 from his 8 plus 29 Kintaro, and Xiaomao would have to worry about how to choose the right 6 from his more than 200 Pokémon. But for Yu, this is not a worry at all. He only has 6 Pokémon in total. What is he thinking? No matter what kind of trainer his opponent is, he can only use these 6. There is no need to think about what Pokémon to use, but you need to adjust the order of Pokémon according to the opponent. Okay, you always have your own ideas, and you should not let me down this time. Try your best to win a championship for our Kyojin family, and don't hold back when you meet the one from the Oak family, Kikuko said solemnly, then got up and left. Yu raised her eyebrows slightly. My dear, it's a pity that you are not with Zabo. Shaking her head, turning off the lights, and going to bed, she went to the hall the next day to wait for the announcement of the competition list. As soon as she arrived at the hall, as expected, she saw Xiao Gang chatting with Miss Joy as usual. At the Pokémon League conference, Miss Juncha and Miss Joy from all over Kanto were mobilized. So for Xiao Gang, the only magical being who can distinguish all Joys and Junchas at the same time, this place is heaven. After waiting for a while, the list of players was finally announced. It was a bit unexpected. Yu vs. Xiaozi. The moment they saw the result, Yu and Xiaozi subconsciously looked at each other. Xiaozi was a little unnatural. Becoming a Pokémon Master was his goal, and winning the championship of this Pokémon League conference was also the first step of his plan, but he was a little emotionally unable to accept competing with his friends. Especially since he had just eliminated his new friend Ahun yesterday. Yu was very calm. Although it was a bit unexpected to compete with Zyossi now, it was reasonable to say it seriously. After all, there were only 7 opponents in total, and the probability of 1 in 7 was not high, nor was it low. If they participated together, they would have to face this sooner or later. In the next round, if Zyomeo also passed, the probability of Zyomeo would be higher, 1 in 3. Looking at Zyossi, he said, "Since we met, have we never had a 6-on-6 match? Well, we've only played once, 3-on-3 last time." Zyossi was a little bit underconfident. He said it was 3-on-3, but he ended up losing 3-on-1. "Then go all out this time. I'll play seriously, more seriously than last time. Don't let me win 6-on-1. Yu looked at Zyossi with a gleam of fighting spirit in his eyes. As a time traveler, Zyossi has a special relationship with him, especially Zyossi's Pokémon. Although they haven't fully grown up yet, it's okay. Old Spray, Pikachu. Okay, let's go all out. No one is allowed to cheat if they lose." Zyossi also immediately became motivated. After all, in his heart, the competition is the first. To use the most common words in hot-blooded anime, the best way to respect your opponent is to play with all your strength. Zyomeo didn't say anything on the side, but his eyes were also full of fighting spirit. These two people are very special to him. He wants to win. A new day begins. Yu and Zyossi prepared their teams for the competition and walked onto the competition stage. "Bulbasaur, it's you. Win this match." Zyossi took out the Pokeball, and a red light flashed by. A green Pokémon with a large seed on its back appeared on the field. "Old uncle in the backyard." Yu nodded slightly. He was gifted. He could learn Sunblaze when he was a Bulbasaur. It was a pity that he was a firm supporter of the action of not evolving, which limited his progress in the later period. Now his strength is probably at the level of ordinary elites, but it doesn't matter anyway. No matter which one it is, he has already thought of his first Pokémon. The first 6-on-6 official match is also the time for you to show off your power. Dragonite will appear. The red light flashed, and Dragonite appeared on the field in a silly way, with gentle eyes, as if he was not competing with the world. But Zyossi didn't dare to take it lightly. He sat on Dragonite the day before yesterday, and had a deep understanding of Dragonite's speed. "Bulbasaur, Leaf Blade." Zyossi took the lead in issuing an attack command. Dane Bulbasaur called out, and countless green leaves flew out of his body, turning into flying knives and rushing towards Dragonite. "Dragonite, Dragon Dance." Yu shouted. Dragonite's innocent and cute eyes suddenly became fierce, completely ignoring Bulbasaur's flying knife. Its wings vibrated slightly, and it began to jump violently, performing a unique dance. Its aura was several times more fierce. As for Bulbasaur's leaf blade, it was instantly rebounded and turned into ordinary leaves falling down. Dragonite has both dragon and flying attributes. Grass attribute tricks are not effective against Dragonite, so Yu chose to directly bear this trick and use Dragon Dance to enhance his own strength. It is really a brilliant method. The commentator explained enthusiastically. Dragonite's super speed. Yu shouted, "How can it be ineffective? Dragonite's two attributes are all anti-grass, and the power of a leaf blade hitting Dragonite is weakened to only 1/4. Coupled with the level difference between the two sides and Dragonite's strong body, the damage can be almost regarded as zero. In other words, Zyossi will use Leaf Blade against Dragonite. After the Dragon Dance bonus, the two small wings behind Dragonite vibrated slightly, turning into a white light, revealing an awe-inspiring and invincible momentum, and instantly came to Bulbasaur. Bulbasaur had no time to react, and was knocked away by Dragonite, and fell violently against the wall on one side, and was knocked unconscious. Before he could react, he heard Yu's command again. Flame Fist. Dragonite's thick fists burned with blazing flames, and a group of them hit Bulbasaur, directly beating Bulbasaur to lose its combat ability, and it slid down the wall like a rag. Amazing speed and power. Yu's Dragonite is too strong, and Zyos's Bulbasaur couldn't react at all, and was defeated. It is worthy of being our guardian god of Kanto. What should Zyossi do next? The commentator said. If the fire attribute attack is effective against Bulbasaur, Squirtle, please. Zyossi threw the Pokeball, and the silly Squirtle appeared on the field. Dragonite super speed, lightning punch. Yu said. Dragonite once again turned into a white light and knocked Squirtle away at a speed that Squirtle could not adapt to at all. Then, with electric light lingering on his right hand, he punched Squirtle fiercely and the electric current flashed violently. Even though Squirtle had a solid shell, he was still stunned by the electric shock and fell to the ground with his head tilted. Yu's Dragonite is too strong and it easily defeated Zyos's 2 Pokémon. How should Zyos deal with it? Said the commentator. As a powerful dragon Pokémon, Dragonite has excellent talents and can learn special moves with multiple attributes. It is also proficient in close combat and long-range attacks, and its speed is extremely fast. It is an extremely powerful Pokémon, especially me. So don't be so naive to think that I can use the Fire Punch, but not the Thunder Punch. Yu said. Those who can be chosen by Mewtwo as a postman must have both strength and talent. And the moves Yu gave Dragonite were very simple. The farmer's 3 punches, the Fire Punch, the Thunder Punch, and the Freeze Punch, all included. With Dragon Dance and speed, it is no exaggeration to say that he is a qua-seeking. He beats one at a time. Zyos he looked at the huge Dragonite and Yao in front of him, as if he saw a chasm in front of him. Then he immediately cheered up and took out a Pokeball. Charizard, I'll leave it to you. A red light flashed, and Charizard flapped its wings and flew out, standing on the field, staring at Dragonite. The 2 dragons roared in tacit understanding, shaking the whole audience. The emotions of the audience around were also mobilized at once. Dragonite vs. Charizard. The battle between the 2 most popular Pokémon in Kanto is worth watching at first glance. Chapter 100. Duel of the Dragons. Speedy, lightning punch. Yu still ordered. Dragonite's 2 small wings vibrated, turning into a stream of light, and quickly flew towards Charizard. Charizard also hadn't reacted yet, and was knocked away by Dragonite. It was hit hard, and a painful expression appeared on its face. Then, Dragonite's fist flashed with lightning, and it hit Charizard fiercely. The Iron Fist hit, but this time it was not as easy to hit as before, but was caught by a strong and powerful arm. Now, Million Ton Punch. Zyos he shouted. Charizard roared, and white light flashed from its other hand, hitting Dragonite fiercely. Dragonite's body swayed, and it took a step back, with an angry expression on its face. Thunder Punch. Yu gave the order again. Dragonite quickly stepped forward, and lightning flashed on both fists. Charizard, Million Ton Punch. Zyos he shouted to him unyieldingly. In fighting, who is he afraid of? Charizard roared, howled to the sky, and fought Dragonite in close combat with blazing flames. Dragonite was not weak at all. The 2 huge flying dragons fought in close combat, making the ground tremble. The audience in the front even felt a little unstable. But such a strong and shocking visual experience made them more excited. If they didn't want to experience this feeling, who would sit in the first row? Dragonite and Charizard fought back and forth, fist to fist, flesh to flesh. You came with a claw, I went with a fist, and finally hit each other with a fierce punch. Both retreated, but Charizard was obviously more tired, with burn marks all over his body. Dragonite, continue with the lightning punch. Yu said. Although Zyos's Charizard is strong, it has not yet been trained in the Charizard Valley in Johto. Compared with Dragonite, who has been trained in the backyard of Damu, there is a big gap in strength. Moreover, the lightning punch has attribute restraint on Charizard. If they are hit by a punch, it is not considered strength, and Charizard is at a disadvantage. This does not include the bonus of Dragon Dance. So in close combat, as long as Dragonite is not caught by Charizard and thrown by Earth, it will not lose. Only the current Ash is so naive. If it were Ash from the Sinnoh region, it would be difficult to fight. Charizard, fly up quickly. At the critical moment, Ash suddenly shouted. Charizard's wings vibrated and quickly flew up to avoid Dragonite's lightning punch. Dragon's Fury. Ash raised his head and shouted. Charizard suddenly lowered its head, accumulating domineering dragon energy in its mouth, and then turned into a raging flame, quickly engulfing Dragonite and hitting Dragonite with powerful force. Dragonite roared with a painful expression. Dragonite's Fury, a dragon type ultimate move. In the game, it only deals 40 points of damage. But in reality, it is obviously impossible to have such a thing as fixed damage. If there really is, it will really be the best skill in the world. But even so, the power is still strong. Double damage. Dragonite suffered the greatest damage since joining the battle. Yu Yu's pupils shrank slightly. Zyrozy was terrible at theory, so it was better not to mention it. However, he was not good at theory, but he was passionate. He was often very spiritual in some places. When he had a flash of inspiration, it was hard to figure it out. But flying? Would Dragonite be afraid? Do you think Dragonite can't fly fast? Yu Yu said. Dragonite flew up quickly, turned into white light, crisscrossed the sky, and violently hit Charizard. After the collision, it left quickly without any nostalgia. The white light crisscrossed and crisscrossed, leaving marks on Charizard's body. Charizard let out a painful roar, and in the sky, it looked pitiful, like a weak and helpless girl being bullied by a strong man. In the world of martial arts, only speed cannot be broken. Although it is a bit absolute, it is generally correct. Speed, strength, and skills. No matter what battle, it is nothing more than these 3 points. 3 points are perfect, invincible. One of the 3 points is also fierce enough, as expected of a powerful Pokémon that can circle the earth within 16 hours. Yu Yu's Dragonite is really fast. Zyrozy's Charizard can't keep up with Yu Yu's Dragonite at all, and is unilaterally suppressed. Zyrozy, what should we do? The commentator shouted, and the emotions of the audience around were infected again. Zyrozy fell into abnormal tension. What should I do? Charizard is no match for Dragonite. If it continues like this, Charizard will lose its fighting power. What should I do? I can't find Dragonite at all. It's the same, no matter how many times I repeat it. Zyrozy's head suddenly froze, and suddenly a light flashed. He recalled that Dragonite's attack method just now was completely in accordance with the fixed pattern routine, and it was all the same. So, Charizard, use the flame vortex to the back. Zyrozy shouted vigorously. The injured Charizard turned its head suddenly, and sprayed a strong flame vortex first, and then, Dragonite, who couldn't stop, plunged into the flame vortex by itself, looking like Dragonite falling into a trap. An amazing scene has happened. Zyrozy predicted the trajectory of Dragonite, and used flame vortex first, hitting it directly. He is really amazing, worthy of being a player who can enter the quarterfinals. Take advantage of this moment. Charizard uses Earth Throw. Zyrozy shouted. Charizard seemed to have divine help, and its wings vibrated, rushing directly into the flames, stretching out its claws to catch Dragonite. Thunder Fist. At this moment, Yu Yu's order also sounded immediately. As Charizard rushed over, lightning flashed on his fists, and he swung them up suddenly, hitting Charizard's head with one punch. Charizard's eyes bulged, and Dragonite hit it hard with a punch, breaking through the flames, and hitting the ground. There was a shocking explosion, and smoke and dust rolled. After the smoke and dust completely dissipated, Dragonite punched Charizard's head, then slowly got up, and stood up strong. Charizard fell to the ground weakly, revealing a pair of background eyes. Charizard has lost its ability to fight, and the winner is Yu Yu's Dragonite. Now Zyrozy has lost 3 Pokémon, while Yu Yu has not lost any Pokémon. Yu Yu is really too strong. Can Zyrozy defeat him? Who else can punish Yu Yu's Dragonite? The 4th one. Yu Yu looked at Zyrozy. Zyrozy's Charizard has always been a very special existence. As a Pokémon with both flying and fire attributes, before completing the training in the Charizard Valley, it did not know a single flying type trick, but instead knew several fighting tricks. Hell Roll, Earth Throw, and Earth Throw is the most powerful trick. So other tricks are another matter. This trick of Yu Yu is specifically aimed at defense. If you want to win with this trick, forget it. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.